Thanks for the notice.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ANC 5B's monthly committee meeting, community meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started and have Commissioner Pereira go ahead and do our roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Gail Carley. Present. Commissioner Higgins is present.
Here.
Commissioner Pereira, that's me. I am here.
Sorry, I'm here. I unmuted.
Gotcha. Thank you, Commissioner Carley. Commissioner Amin. Him over there.
Present.
Commissioner Costello. Thank you.
Present.
Great. We are all
Okay.
here.
All right, I thank you so much. If everyone would please take a look at the agenda for this evening. And I had one correction or edit.
Is it on the screen or do we need it?
I'll share it. What's the correction, Commissioner?
Under item E, for resolution and votes for that Commissioner Carley for the comprehensive plan. Thank you for sharing your screen.
Of course.
And I would like to set aside that resolution until I am able to meet with my community and do a vote, and then come back and do a special meeting on April 1st.
Commissioner Higgins,
Yes.
I understand what you're trying to do, but I think that you bring that up when that that resolution comes up. That's when you make that that motion.
Well, that's fine, but I still want to bring it up as because we are approving agenda.
Right.
And I just want to note that as a part of that agenda, that that's something that I am proposing. So this is the time to state that.
Yeah, and according to Robert's rules, you're right.
Okay, are there any other additions or edits or omissions?
Nope.
Commissioners?
None on my end.
Okay, I'd like to place a motion on the floor with comments to accept the agenda for this evening's meeting. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor and seconded. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we want to do a roll call?
I think the ayes have it, but if you would like to call for a roll call, I'm happy to
You
do
please do a roll call. Thank you.
that. Commissioner Carley,
Yes.
Commissioner Higgins,
Yes.
I am a yes as well. Commissioner Amin,
I'm not
Commissioner
sure. if-
Costello.
or not.
Commissioner Costello.
Okay, the ayes have it, and
Yes.
Hello?
thank you so much. The ayes have it, and we will move forward.
I hear you.
Commissioner Pereira, the approval of the meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look?
Questions on the minute?
Yes, ma'am.
And as we were talking about a minute, just for awareness, I've also been sharing them as they are approved on our ANC 5B website. So if anyone has any questions about past minutes, I will be posting them there.
Okay, perfect.
Great. All right, and we'll get through that. All right.
Are we good to go? Did anyone have any comment on the minutes for February?
Some of us can't see them.
This portion is for the commissioners. I'm sorry. Anybody? I'm sorry, I can't hear anyone.
No, I don't have any feedback. I'll get
Okay.
the ball started here. Anybody else?
Nope, none on my.
Okay, all right, so we are approving the minutes. Commissioner Amin, you want to go on to the treasurer's report? I think he has a delay. Commissioner Amin, the
Ms.
treasurer's
Brown,
report.
you could like Commissioner. No.
Commissioner Amin, I believe you are frozen. We can't hear you.
I got and I'm having a little audio problems. So I have the problems in Zoom and Commissioner Costello has the problems in WebEx. So we're gonna try to make this work.
Would you be able to call in?
Yes. Right. I'm having audio problems. That's what I'm trying to say. So let me know. Am I breaking up?
Oh, no, you're fine now.
Hello, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Hello? Right, okay, let's see. Can you hear me now? No?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Move on, I'll call in. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Amin is going to call in.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, do we want to go ahead and move forward to our MPD report while he's doing that?
What about now? Do I have? All right, I'm gonna turn my camera off. I have an audio problem in Zoom. So that's why I'm always reluctant to switch to Zoom from WebEx, Commissioner Costello. So, but we're gonna make this work. Don't worry about it. Okay. Treasury report. Our available balance. Yes, our available balance at this balance is $7,325.59. Okay, and that's the same for our available balance.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, is that the end of your report?
Oh, wait.
Commissioner Amin, is that the end of your report? Okay, while Commissioner Amin is having some slight technical issues, we're going to go ahead and move forward.
Can I mention something since we're doing the treasury report? Just a heads up that I did purchase a new phone and I had to put, I guess, some sort of fees toward it in order to receive the phone. So I'm not sure if we're going to continue renting or paying for renting or purchase it outright, because otherwise they're going to be billing me monthly.
Okay, did you give that information to Commissioner Amin so he could address it?
Well, I wanted to do it in the report and make sure it got.
Can you even hear me?
No, Commissioner Amin, you're actually breaking up. So you would really actually have to sign off and then just call back in on your phone. As I was stating, Commissioner Carley, thank you for that information, but it's really important that when situation is such that you send that information to the treasurer, because that will have an impact on what we pay out. So he needs to be aware of that. And we can move forward and do what's necessary to take care of that bill.
Right.
And just as a FYI, the previous billing and the rental of phones, I actually paid for the cost that was remaining on all of the phones. I paid for that and was reimbursed by the commission. And I believe that was 2 months ago, commissioners, if I'm not mistaken. And sent that information out to all of the commissioners as well. So if there's still a cost factor, that information should have been brought to our attention at that time when I sent that out, so we could also ensure that that rental price for your phone would also be taken care of.
But I just got the phone a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. When you got the phone, that information should have been shared so we could have acted accordingly. So the cost wouldn't be on you and we can have it transferred over.
Right, but that's also something that we need to vote on as well. So that's why I wanted to make sure I brought it up.
Okay.
Full body meeting. So no, I don't have a problem with getting reimbursed. Purchase it outright, but I just want to make sure that, you know, everyone had the same information.
Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our MPD report. I see that we have Officer, I'm gonna screw it up, SWAT and Lieutenant Garvin on the line, and I apologize if I messed up your names. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you at this time for our MPD report, and you can enlighten us on what's been going on, what efforts the MPD are taking in reference to the uptick and continuous gunfire and crime sprees that we've been seeing in our community.
Hey, Commissioner, how you doing? Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm gonna go over a few things for the last 30 days that we had. We had a homicide in Street Northeast. We got a call for the decedent was suffering from multiple gunshot wounds, and he was actually pronounced on the scene. On the scene also in his possession was a handgun. That case is still actively open. We also, the street, that was the 1200 block of Irving Street Northeast, and this happened on March the 13th, around 2100 hours. On today, we had on today, about 0247 hours, we had an ADW gun in the 1700 block of Taylor Street, Northeast. Officers received a call for service in reference to a shooting. Once the officers arrived on the scene, they located the victim, who appeared to be suffering from multiple gunshot wounds about the body, where he was actually transported to an area hospital. This case is currently being investigated by the 5th District Detective's Office, and it appears that the victim knew the suspect. They were together at the time of the shooting. We had a Street Northeast, where we made an arrest. A juvenile was arrested and we also recovered a BB gun as a result of that incident. Carjackings. So we had one unarmed carjacking, two armed carjackings, one with the gun and one with the taser, and we had one attempt carjacking. So let me start here. So March the 1st, around 26 hours, we had an armed carjacking gun in the 2600 block of 10th Street Northeast. The armed carjacking taser was on March the 3rd, around 12:30 hours, and that was in the 3300 block of 17th Street. Around 1746 12th Street, and we had the attempt carjacking block of 12th Street. So these cases are still being investigated by my 5th District Detective's Office. We had 5 burglaries were reported. I'll say that 2 were burglary 1. The complainants were sleeping and an unknown suspect made entry into their home and stole items. We had three burglaries were burglaries of an establishment where they took US currency and cash register. So the first burglary was at 3300 block of 18th Street. The second one was the 1300 block of the 1300 block of Randolph Street Northeast. We had a burglary 2 at the Subway restaurant located in the 3500 block of 12th Street. Another burglary 2 at Wings to Go, 3500 block of 12th Street. And the last burglary was the 2700 block of 12th Street Northeast. I think that business is called the Salumeria Italian Deli. I may not be saying that right, but Salumeria Italian Deli. We had some sounds of gunshots that were negative results. And that was a knife in Jackson Street. We had another one in the 900 block of Jackson Street, 1300 block of Quincy, and Perry and 12th Street. Those were negative results. Those are our shot spotter calls for service, negative results for that. We did have some notable arrests. So we had several arrests associated with the siege of 3 guns and a significant amount of narcotics. We arrested a 12-year-old juvenile and we charged him for 4 of the carjacking offenses. 12 years old. And as I mentioned, the 14-year-old juvenile who was arrested with the BB gun for the assault with intent to rob. So on February the 24th, we recovered 2 firearms. One was a 9mm Ghost gun and a Glock 30, 45 caliber, and also 4.5 ounce vials of liquid PCP, along with 7.6 grams of crack cocaine. 2 adults were arrested on the block of 15th Street.
100 block of 15th Street was that? I'm sorry.
That was the 2300 block of 15th Street Northeast, ma'am. So in reference to the 12-year-old I was mentioning, in reference to the armed carjackings, we charged him with the 4 that occurred. One occurred at the 1900 block of 2nd Street, 2 in the 300 block of V Street, and the last one was the 2000 block of 4th Street. So we charged him for all 4 armed carjackings that occurred in the 5th District. We had another gun recovery. We recovered a 9mm 6 Sauer handgun in the 3600 block of 12th Street Northeast. So right now, we're going to increase our patrols and visibility in the 3400 block to the 3900 block of 12th Street, where, as you can tell, there's a lot of activity going on, especially in and around the Brooklyn area. And we're having our officers, times of these offenses that are occurring, giving special attention to the 1300 block of Brentwood as well. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything? Does anybody have any questions? Right now, you have anything, Commissioner Higgins?
Yes, there is a question in the chat. Ms. Gladnett wrote, I'm concerned about the abandoned vehicles in the area. There's been an abandoned van on my street that has been here since October. I submitted a request through 311. The issue was considered resolved, but the van remained. I reached out to the councilman's office and received a response in January, but the van is still here. What are my next steps? Please advise.
What's the address or the 100 block with the van is?
Ms. Gladden, could you put that
If
information?
if she doesn't mind sharing, or she can email it to me if she doesn't, if she wants to email it to me directly, she can do that. Whatever she's more comfortable with, that's fine.
Okay, I don't mind. It's the 3200 block of 17th Street. And then also there is one on Kearney between 17th and 18th Street. I'm not sure about that one being reported. But they're both white vans.
Yeah, let me jump in on this. This is Kelly. And we had talked to Captain Moore about this. I believe it's been ticketed. Is that right?
I'm not sure, but I can confirm and
Yeah.
get back to her if she wants to give me
Ms.
her
Gladden.
information.
Ms. Gladden, has it been ticketed?
I'm sorry, Kelly. I went off mute for a second.
Yeah.
It was ticketed and the tickets are no longer there.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
were
So,
removed.
yeah, and DPW is not towing right now unless it's for blocking traffic, fire hydrant, or crosswalk.
That is correct.
But and then once the public health emergency is up, they will start ticketing for ROSA violations, which is where this van would, aside from the other things, I can't remember if that one is a 2-hour parking restriction. At any rate, once the public health emergency is up, it would get caught in that ROSA violation. They have vehicles that they drive around with that do, they read the license plates automatically. And then it would go through that ROSA process. So I think because of the pandemic and DPW has a number of staff out because of COVID, it has impacted their ability to do the full towing process. That's the answer to the question. Unfortunately, I know it's not what anybody wants to hear, but it will eventually get dealt with.
Thank you, Ms. Cicelo.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate that. And we have another officer on the line. Would you like to comment as well, sir? You're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now we can. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Shout. I'm actually with the 4th District. What I'm going to comment on the shooting we had down there at the Turkey Thicket. I received numerous responses from members of 5B, and first of all, some of them seem to be unaware that the Michigan Avenue is actually the dividing line between 4 and 5D. Now, in reference to the shooting that happened up on Turkey Thicket with the 2 individual victims, I don't know if the information got up, but the 2 individuals that were shot actually were observed shooting back at the person shooting at them, and they had previously been arrested for federal firearms violations. So there was actually 2 arrests made that night for the individuals. Technically, they were the victim of ADW, but they were guilty of the crime of possessing a weapon while being a felony.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
This is Guy Duran. Can I ask a question?
Sure, sir.
Well, I want to know the ages of those people that you're talking about, that the gentleman was just talking about and involved in the shooting. And I also want to know, are the people that are suspects also in the same neighborhood as most of these crimes, or are they coming from outside the neighborhoods? Are most of them near these carjackings, near these shootings? They live like that 12-year-old. Does that 12-year-old live in the same area where this carjacking was happening? I'm just trying to find out the ages and why they're not in school and why they're out here in our neighborhoods, or are they coming from outside the neighborhood?
In reference to the incident at Turkey Thicket, those were both adults.
And the 12-year-old, I mean, do we know what the school situation is with that 12-year-old?
I will defer that to the 5D lieutenant. Is there any other questions reference to my area? Because I have ANC 5A going on at the same time.
Yeah, did they come from outside the area, those adults, or were they inside the area?
They were outside the area. They actually had gone to one of the restaurants down there at the Brooklyn station. As reference to the shooter, we don't, the first individual that was shooting at him, we don't have that information. We're still investigating the actual shooting at them.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Lieutenant Garvin. I appreciate you as well for joining us. this evening.
Excuse me, I have one question real quick, and I'm a resident on the 1200 block
Sure.
of Oakland Street. So we have seen an uptick of, I would say, random individuals in the neighborhood. And, you know, between that and speeding cars and folks not stopping at stop signs and things like that, probably a lot of this has occurred during the pandemic. I understand there's going to be an increased police presence, but I'm interested in what MPD is doing to reach out to neighbors to let us know about this increased presence. What is the escalation that we have when we're seeing things that, you know, aren't representative and aren't typical of our neighborhood? And kind of do we know why there's an influx of folks from not this neighborhood coming to this neighborhood and meeting and you know, and we're being met with violent crimes and things like that. So there's been a noticed uptick in the last few months or year. And, you know, we all have some suspects or some thoughts about certain houses and things that are the corporates of this. Maybe we don't want to do it on this forum, but I know the neighbors are more than willing to have some side conversations and take the time to work with MPD to figure out how we figure this out. But right now we just don't know who to turn to. And, you know, we're a little surprised after the shooting last Saturday, besides the flyer on everyone's car in this meeting, there really has been no other outreach to anyone. And so, you know, it was 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, like people were still out with their kids and things. So any thoughts about that from the MPD representatives, or any way to contact you offline if we need to have this conversation, because I don't want to take up all the times, but it is getting to a level of discontent with the neighbors at this point with this.
So when you reference the shooting, are you talking about the turkey ticket shooting that happened on Saturday? Was that some of the one before?
No, I'm talking about the shooting on the 1200 block of Irving Street, Northeast. So the 18-year-old from, I think, Southeast with the ghost gun.
So it has been a tick, I guess, since the pandemic, and I think a couple of problem properties.
Yes.
If I can say that.
I would second that. I think you're being really PC by saying problem properties.
They receive a high volume of police calls daily to these properties, for all the way from thefts to domestic violence to we even believing that some of our theft from autos are being centered around a few specific properties. So right now we're just trying to continue to be more visible and hope to deter these individuals from coming in, because I know as far as the 5th district, I know near the fact that New York Avenue corridor, things of that nature, a lot of people can come in to the 5th district and they can commit crimes and they can actually get back, they can actually leave and go back to the 6th district and the 7th district, jump on 295 and they're gone in a flash. So we definitely are aware the uptick in crime, and we're trying to do everything we can. We're getting a lot of feedback actually from the community as well. I can give you my information if we can have a sidebar off this this conference call.
Yep.
I can actually put it in the text chat, my information, and
perfect.
We can talk offline if there's specific, you know, house that we may not be aware of that might, you know, that we may need to be aware of, and we might need to get, depending on if it's a narcotics issue, if it's just people just bringing in individuals who don't appear to be from the area, maybe involved in some type of criminal activity. We need to know this information. So I'll put my information in the chat, and you can reach out and we can definitely discuss offline.
Great, that'll be great. I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Koch, I know you're not my, that's outside of my jurisdiction. Commissioner Armin covers that area, but would be happy to have Commissioner Amin and I connect on. I'm having a meeting next week with Cure Our Streets, kind of in a similar vein, different issues, but similar concerns. And so we are also going to be trying to engage some of the Office of Safety to make sure that we are trying to implement some type of proactive approaches that, obviously MPD is there and is accessible to us when things happen, but what steps can we also take on the violence prevention side? So I think in that case, I'd be happy to also, I'll have Ron there as well, but send you the information for Lashonia at Cure the Streets, who has been really helpful and willing to engage with us in 5B03 with some of those preventative measures, especially if there are significant houses or individuals that you think could benefit from.
Yeah. And I think all of a sudden, I don't want to take up all the time, but I think during the pandemic with less traffic, we're starting to see more of a cut through nature throughout the neighborhood. There's less traffic, less people, so people are taking shortcuts, and it seems like it's now becoming more visible to folks about the neighborhood and becoming targets. So I don't know if it's speed bumps, I don't know if it's cutting some of the throughway passages off of some of the main arteries coming in here, but it's too easy for folks to get in and out with less people around right now. And I think people aren't stupid, they're seeing it and they're taking advantage of it. So we need to figure out a way to deal with it. So thank you much.
Hey, wait a minute. Lieutenant Garvin, I want to know the percentage. What are the percentages of people inside these neighborhoods causing the problem versus outside? Still don't understand whether, I'm hearing people thinking it's outside. I think it's people in the community that are doing these crimes. That's one of the percentage. Are you saying like 50%, 70% are coming from outside the ANC or inside? I want to know the percentages.
Not really a percentage guy, but what I can tell you is from the incidents that have been occurring within the last 30 days, a lot of the incidents have occurred from people who live in the 5th district, that they're having, whether it's over drugs disputes, with reference to like some of the shootings and the robberies. A lot of them are kind of like area individuals.
Right. So no matter what we do about traffic, these are people that live next to us. These are our neighbors. It's not about outsiders. This is about people we live next to that are causing these problems, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I could say for like the last 30 days within this 504, 505, 503 early, I'm saying within the 5th district, a lot of it is mostly individuals who live in the 5th district who are committing a lot of these offenses. Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make it clear because when we start talking about, who's coming in, who's coming out, who's driving, who's biking, whatever, it has nothing to do with crime. That's a totally different issue. Crime is happening from our neighbors, not from people from outside.
But I do believe the shooting on Irving Street, the victim was not a resident of this ward, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate everybody's comments, and thank you, MPD, for coming on board and sharing that information with us. We're going to backtrack to Commissioner Amin if you're ready with your treasurer report.
How about this?
No, I don't think it's much better.
Wait a minute.
You have to mute your
Your
computer.
computer. And turn down the volume on your computer, and then it should be okay.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move forward in our agenda. And at this time, we'll have Ms. Cicelo from Councilman McDuffie's office.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm Kelly Cicelo, and I'm the Constituent Services Director for Councilmember McDuffie here in Ward 5. Just a couple of reminders. We have we're currently in the budget oversight process, and we expect to get the budget from the mayor in a couple of weeks, and then we go through back and forth with several hearings and negotiations with the budget. I did send out a draft schedule. We have an updated one that I'll send out to you this week as well. And then I just wanted to remind, there's a lot of questions around the arrests and the age of the ones arrested, where they're from, and so forth. I want to remind everybody that the process that we ask folks to go through is to work with the Office of Attorney General or the U.S. Attorney's Office on community impact statements. And that's something residents, along with their ANC commissioners and the commission, can submit. And those get read at the time of the prosecution. And so we highly recommend that folks get engaged on that. You can sign up for the Court Watch for 4D and 5D, which are the two areas I believe in ANC 5B that would be covered. And it tells you when the arrests are. There is some privacy with regard to juveniles though. But I think what might be helpful is in some of these juvenile cases, I don't know if there's an opportunity for restorative justice or ways to kind of, use it as a lesson learned and figure out how do we kind of impress upon them the impact it has on the community, right? And I know Commissioner Piacara said she's meeting with the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, and that's a good place to start with them to kind of help coordinate that. And community members can work with your ANC to put a letter together that can be shared as part of that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is Commissioner Higgins, I saw the email about the April 6th meeting, which I believe now is going to be, I think, March 30th or April 1st on the Howard University East development. And my understanding is the comp plan vote would be around April 5th. And so if we could just get corrected any kind of information that's been put out there. My understanding from that meeting we had on March 11th is that they're looking to do a future land use map change to get the moderate density, right? Which is part of the comp plan, but I don't believe it's your traditional zoning change. So yeah, as soon as you confirm those dates for your meeting, we're happy to participate in that as well.
Okay, well, the dates have already been confirmed. I spoke with Mr. Evan Cash.
Okay.
With the committee of the whole. I actually spoke with him today. And what he stated was the meeting would be on April 6th. And they may or may not take the vote on that day. But the drop dead date for submitting the information from this ANC would be April 5th. So I will be conducting a single member district meeting on March the 30th. And we will have a special meeting with the commissioners on April 1st to do a vote. And whatever the decision is based on that single member district meeting, the information will go to the council on April 2nd.
Okay.
And which will be in time for before that date of submission. So I actually got that from the committee of the whole person for Chairman Mendelson's office. And I wanted to confirm that first prior to sending out that information, because we want to ensure that we are sharing correct information. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. And then just a reminder, I sent this information out, I think a couple weeks ago. The Department on Insurance, Security and Banking, DISB, is having an event on April 1st. It's a virtual event, so people can join in remotely. It's at 4:00 on April 1st, and it's about floodwater damage prevention and the programs. So I highly encourage everybody to join that virtual meeting if they can. And then if anybody has any unemployment insurance claims that need escalating, please reach out to me and we can help get that escalated. And I put my contact information in the chat.
And I think we have a question from Ms. Hodges, I believe.
Yes, thank you. In regards to the special 5B full commission special meeting that's going to be held, how will the home addresses of those who vote in the single member district meeting be verified to ensure that only those in 5B vote? Like, can you just speak to what that process will be so we will be prepared for it? I think, Ms. Higgins, you're muted or.
Pardon me. So what I'm going to do is have a poll set up while we're conducting the meeting. And people are going to conduct their vote that way with a yay or a nay. They're going to put their name and their mailing address. And we'll move forward from there because a lot of the information that I want feedback for is from the actual community in which the development is, because those are the people that's most directly affected and the 200 footers. And those are the people that I want to hear from, since this is the SMD in which the development is.
Okay, I guess one of the concerns we all have in this virtual, time is making sure that there aren't any technical glitches and that everyone can vote. But I'm assuming you all are doing everything you can to facilitate that. And then how will you verify the votes? Like, is there, who will be counting those?
All of the information, of course, the meeting will be recorded as before, and all of the information will be in that chat. And that information we are able to download. And then I'm actually going to look to Commissioner Costello because she did have a link in which people could sign on. And so I'm going to have her to assist me with that information so I can ensure that every vote is counted. But do understand that that information will be taken on March the 30th. So it can be presented to ANC 5B in a timely manner, and we'll be able to move forward with the information.
Why not accept the petition? Thank you for that. And then just another question, we just so everyone knows, the Howard East neighbors did submit a petition to Council Member Kenya McDuffie this evening. We had around just over.
Okay, Ms. Hodges, wait a minute, 1 second.
Sure.
We're going through an agenda.
No
And
problem.
you can do that. I mean, I didn't mind answering those questions, but I want to actually stay with our agenda, and we can address that when we get down to the public forum. But I do want to stay within the agenda with our host commissioner, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your questions. At this time, we'll have Ms. Brittany Butler to come on from the mayor's office. She's a moker with the mayor's office. Ms. Butler?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to the meeting. I am happy to be here. I won't take up too much of your time. I just have some quick announcements. Before I get into those announcements, Commissioner Higgins, I have not gotten a response back from your answer earlier. So as soon as I get a response, I will circle back with you. Just wanted to point that out. And I will go ahead with the updates. We are having a bike to work day around the city. This is going to be on Friday, May 21st. So for those of you on the call who are essential workers or are required to report in person to work, we are strongly encouraging you to bike to work. This is kind of our kickoff to the summer and kickoff to getting people to explore other modes of transportation other than being in your car. And it's also more environmentally friendly. So we ask that you go ahead and register to bike2workmetrodc.org. And the first 15,000 participants will get a water bottle and a t-shirt commemorating the day, excuse me. Also, I wanted to let you all know that if you know any homebound seniors who do want to receive the COVID vaccine, please email me their information so that I can add them to a list. We are currently taking names for homebound seniors only who want to get the vaccine. I also wanted to let you guys know that there have been some updates to our COVID restrictions. Right now, gyms can have indoor fitness classes for up to 10 people. Outdoor fitness classes can be up to 50 people. Again, everybody has to be socially distanced. In terms of live entertainment, movie theaters are now open in the district, but it can be no more than 25 people in the actual theater at a time. In terms of recreation, playgrounds are now officially open on DPR property. In terms of the rec centers, indoor only rec centers will hold events, but it's by reservation only for specific programs. And in terms of DPR fields and play areas, it is limited to 250 people. Again, you have to be socially distanced as best as possible. Does anybody have any questions?
What about DPW?
DPW still has to follow the same guidelines, but in terms of like specific activities, I can circle back with you if you have like a specific activity in mind, but they still have to go with the general guidelines of 10 people indoors and 50 people outdoors. Does that make sense?
Towing.
So in terms of parking and towing, right now that is currently suspended. I can circle back with you on the date that they're going to rev up full enforcement. Right now, though, it is suspended. The only thing that's going to get towed is if it is a vehicle that is abandoned, that is blocking traffic, like say an alley or a driveway or a crosswalk. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything else right now is temporarily suspended. I can circle back with you when they will start going in full enforcement mode. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to mute myself.
All right, thank you so much. So at this time, I am going to turn the meeting over to our host commissioner for this evening, Commissioner Costello.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So while I am talking, my colleague, Commissioner Piquera, is going to be managing the controls of Zoom. I know that there are a few people in the waiting room. We're just waiting on one more participant, one panelist to join the meeting, who we want to make sure we leave space for before we let other participants in. So really appreciate your patience. We are going to go first on our the next part of our agenda to Interim Director Everett Lott from the District Department of Transportation. And I know that traffic safety issues have been at the forefront of everybody's mind this past month, given the accident that occurred on Michigan Avenue on March 1st. And just given what we know about how dangerous some roads in our area can be. So Mr. Lott is going to address some of those issues, and we also have joining him Kelly Jong Olson from DDOT, who will be sharing some of the time for her own part of the presentation. So I'm going to mute myself, and I think Director Lott, did you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And Commissioner and Chair Higgins, I want to thank you and the full commission for having me and the rest of my team here today. My name is Everett Lott. I am the Interim Director of DDOT, and I am joined here by a couple of team members, Linda Bailey, who is our Vision Zero Manager, who's responsible for the safety, and also Kelly Jung Olson, who is our Ward 5 representative. And many of you have probably worked with her out in the community. So I want to thank you for having us here and the opportunity to introduce myself as new interim director, but also to talk about some of the proposals, short, long, and medium-term proposals that we're planning for several of the quarters along within your particular ward and specifically within the ANC SMD area. So again, thank y'all very much. And I do want to just first say that, our hearts and prayers have definitely been with all of you and with the family of Armando Martinez Ramos, the individual that was struck and killed a few weeks ago. And we have been working very vigilantly and diligently with the community on some short, medium, and long-term solutions, specifically at that particular intersection, as well as along that corridor. And so my team is here, as well as I am, to talk about some of those things, but also to be able to hear from you all and any recommendation that you have about other areas that we may or may not be working on specifically right now. But we would like to be able to have those that information from you directly so we can make sure that we have that in our list for potential improvements as well. So I did want to talk a little bit about what did occur and kind of the short-term improvements that we actually had been working on, and many of those had been put in place last week. And so we did put in a leading pedestrian interval, LPI is what we refer to that as, on the north and south crosswalk across the 10th Street Northeast. We also did put a left turn calming measures on both the eastbound and the westbound approaches on Michigan Avenue, and those have been completed. And I know we have received some feedback about removing and replacing the yield to pedestrian signs and replacing those with the stop for pedestrians. And so those have been put in on the northbound approaches of 10th Street Northeast. And so those are just some of the short-term improvements. We have some longer midterm and longer term plans that we are planning for the corridor along Michigan Avenue. Some of those things do require the funding and the procurement, and that's what has taken a little bit more time in getting those things in. But definitely want you all to know that we have been working on that, and we have some things that are actually planning to get started next month in April. And I can talk a little bit about that. I'm not sure how much time we have, but I want to make sure to be respectful of the commission and all of your time. But on Michigan Avenue, 10th Street, the Bunker Hill Road intersection, we've made we're making a couple of improvements that actually will start in effect next month. And that includes improving the greater access to pedestrians in the crossing accessibility, widening the street at 10th Street Northeast to implement also left turn signaling and at Michigan Avenue going westbound. Some of the additional site improvements are that we're going to include repaving the sidewalks, painting new crosswalks, the high visibility crosswalks, so that it actually can be seen from several feet away, and also implementing some of the street trees on the southern border of the Bunker Hill Road in Northeast. And so those are some of the improvements. A little bit further down at Michigan Avenue, 12th Street and Randolph at the intersection, that construction will also start this year. The NOI will be issued this month. I'm really excited about that. And the recommended improvements for that particular location includes curb extensions, shorter crossing distances, and also converting Randolph Street Northeast to a one-way eastbound between Michigan and 12th Street. And there will be a few other improvements that Kelly or Linda can talk about in more detail as well. And then the last thing, and then I'll open up for questions, or at least turn over to Kelly and to Linda to talk a bit more about some of the things that we have planned for this community. We have for Michigan Avenue on 13th Street between Taylor, the Northeast intersection, excuse me, that construction will also start this year. And that NOI, the notice of intent, will be issued this month as well. And those improvements that we're planning include bump outs, new high visibility crosswalks, and pedestrian ramp upgrades, accessible pedestrian signals, and also for all the crosswalks. And so those are some of the improvements that we're making. Those are some of the short term that I mentioned a little bit earlier, and those are some of the midterm. And then we have some longer term planned improvements along the Michigan Avenue corridor. So again, want to just let you know that we are very aware of the concerns that have been brought to our attention. Definitely aware of, again, Mr. Martinez Ramos and the incident that occurred there and resulted in his death, untimely death. And we want to be available and accessible to each and every one of you on this call and many others in the community to be able to work with each of you to help to improve safety on the corridor and on the streets in this particular ANC and in the ward. So let me turn over to Linda or to Kelly and see if they have some additional things they might want to add to this discussion.
I can go first. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to give a heads up that I just dropped more information about the 10th and Bunker Hill project. This one already, notice of intent is expired, and we are ready to start the construction next month. But this is kind of friendly reminder type of flyer for neighbors. So if you can click it, you can see where we're going to work on. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And regarding the other two intersection projects, more information will be available actually next week. So I'll be making sure to share with all the commissioners so that you can disseminate within your constituents.
Thank you. And I think Ms. Bailey is here too. I don't know if she also planned to present or just be available to answer questions. But hi, Ms. Bailey. Just want to give you the opportunity to speak if you want to.
I don't have anything very specific to say. I would just say we're looking at the full corridor as well as this individual intersection. And we hope that some of the short-term improvements we made will change the dynamics at that corner and improve safety long-term. And The great thing is that we already have this other project coming in that should help with that as well. But I'm happy to take questions on it.
Great, thank you. Is your team, I think, is everybody finished? I don't want to stop anybody or cut off your presentation before we open it up to questions.
Yes, Commissioner Costello, we're finished and we're definitely open and available for questions.
I have a question.
Let me just say real quick, Director Lott, I do want to thank you very much for your very quick response to the letter that our community sent to you following the fatal crash on March 1st. Just so everybody on this call knows, Director Lott responded, I think within 30 minutes to my email. So I really appreciate that. And I do appreciate that you and your team are all conscientiously looking at this entire corridor to figure out where we can make improvements. I know that it's not just in my district and not just in 5B where we need to address some of the safety concerns that residents have. But I do really appreciate that you're aware of it, you're looking at it. And I hope personally that, you know, it won't be another 6 years before we start to see some improvements here. So that's all. I'm going to stop. And I think Commissioner Carley had something she wanted to ask, and then we'll open it up for other questions.
Yes, you mentioned Bunker Hill Road, and in my single member district, the 22nd Street and 24th Street of Bunker Hill Road, we have put in several calming requests over the last 6 years, and we have not gotten anything. As a matter of fact, they ended up putting the calming methods in the another single member district, which was 5C, and they never put in a calming request. And so we've been complaining about that and how fast the cars are coming from Maryland down this hill, Bunker Hill Road. So we was hoping, you know, we would get some sort of measures in there, but that hasn't happened. I'm just wondering, you know, you mentioned Bunker Hill Road several times, but it never extended down into my area.
Commissioner, I am very familiar with that area, Bunker Hill, like I think 4,200, 4,300. I think what we've done is we installed a parking box, and because of the road classification, we were not able to put any physical speed hump. But however, we are actually looking at more data to see what else we can do, maybe more signage. So we are still open to other options. We're still looking at it.
Hey, Kelly, I just wanted to add one other thing. So that area of 10th and Michigan where that fatal bicycle accident happened, right in front of the Archdiocese, that little triangle area is called Bunker Hill Road, but it doesn't connect to the Bunker Hill Road that Commissioner Carley is talking about. So I think that might be some of the disconnect. It's the same name, but it's disconnected.
Definitely, it's far in the Michigan Park area, right? I mean, I'm sorry, Woodridge area, right?
Yeah, same name, but
yep.
I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, just it's a little confusing.
Yeah, same. I think.
Yeah, but still, I would have brought it up regardless. It's just a segue, but yes, I'm just hoping something will happen soon because we do have kids in those blocks, and I'm sure you received several emails from the residents complaining about how many times they have to put a calming measure and nothing, no results, nothing positive.
So Commissioner, let us take a moment to revisit some of the requests that you put in, and let me take a look at that. And I'm actually scheduled to go on a site visit next week in the ward. And so I'll make sure I take a visit over there person, just take a look at some of that. So we'll revisit some of the requests that you put in, and I'll go by there sometime next week and take a look at some of those sections that you're referring to.
Thank you.
And we also have some questions in the comments. So somebody was asking whether there are any other planned changes further south on 10th Street between Michigan and Franklin Streets to address speeding. And somebody else wanted to know how we can get speed bumps in residential areas. They were sharing concerns. I'm laughing because I agree with them that people are running through stop signs and ignoring the no through traffic calming signs. We have the same problem in my neighborhood. I think it's probably pretty universal. So I'll leave those two questions with you, and let me know if you want me to repeat them.
There's also some questions in there about including more stakeholders in this discussion, like AAA for car owners.
Director Law, I think you're on mute.
I am. Thank you. Commissioner Castillo, concerning the last part of the question that you read, it's concerning the speed humps. We changed the process a little over a year ago, maybe a little longer than that, where we used to require 51% of the block to get signatures and sign a petition. We've changed that now, and really all that we're requesting is that if the streets are eligible for speed humps, we're just asking that they get something from the commission, from the ANC, and then that's what we'll use to work from. So we'll have to go and take an assessment to make sure that the street and that are being requested speed bumps for, that those are streets that we could actually put them on. And if they are, again, we just want the community to work through the ANC and the ANC to pass a resolution. And that would be what would prompt us to go ahead and take action for something like that. And so we're willing to look at it. Again, not all streets are available for speed humps, but there may be some other type of interventions that we can do. And so if in the event that a speed hump is not the appropriate intervention, then we'll look at other things and we'll be working with the community to kind of share what some of those other interventions may be.
All right, thank you. And then there was another question regarding 10th Street between Franklin and Michigan. Do you know, or do your colleagues know, whether there are any planned traffic calming measures for any part of 10th Street to address speeding drivers?
I'm not personally aware, but I understand that the 10th Street, the area is currently a part of Slow Street program. So we are currently evaluating the future of the Slow Street program. So I'm going to put more information in the chat on the regarding the survey. So please leave more on. Please share your feedback through the survey link.
Yeah, I live on 10th Street, and I posted a question for car owners on 10th Street. We're concerned that the voice of car owners and AAA is not being heard by DDOT. Can you talk about how you work with car owners and how you work with AAA?
Yeah, is it Guy Durant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so again, we are working to try to provide a network that is a network that supports all users of the roadway, whether that's motorists, pedestrians, bicyclists. And so our main concern is to provide, options and travel options that are available for all users of the roadway. And so we don't specifically work just with AAA or just with people who drive vehicles. We're working with the community as a whole, and we're trying to build a network that would support that. And so I'm not sure if you have a specific question about.
Yeah. My specific question was, it just seems like the voice, I understand your broad approach and I applaud the broad approach, but it just seems like the concerns and the voice of car owners is being subdued. And I'm just wondering, how do you listen to the car owners? How do you, if you don't include the stakeholders like AAA who represent a lot of the car owners? So I'm just wondering how you get the kind of input you need to help car owners to share the roadway properly, as needed, but also keeping in mind that the roads were built on the back and for car owners originally.
So Guy, if you will, one of the things I would like to offer to everybody on the call, and in terms of how do we get inputs and receive inputs, we currently have, and I think Kelly mentioned that she's going to place in the chat our survey, Move DC survey. And we really want to encourage all residents and all users of the roadway to complete that survey, because that gives us the input in terms of what the community is looking for in terms of an accessible, reliable network of transit options and opportunities. And so I'd encourage everyone to complete that particular survey, the Move DC. But again, we're out in the community. And so we're at ANC Commission meetings just like this one today. We're out on community walks. And where we're getting input and receiving inputs from community members all the time. And so if there are issues or concerns, we definitely hear them through the ANC community, but also we're really encouraging people to go to our Move DC survey and complete the survey, where you can have an opportunity to really voice your concerns or likes or dislikes.
Can I ask a question about 18th Street, please? Are there any plans to evaluate the stretch between Monroe and South Dakota Avenue? I'm right on 18th Street in that stretch, and people hit 60, 65 miles per hour coming down here, and folks park on the street. I did look up the survey for the residents, to get the signatures and things like that. So you're saying it's a new process to evaluate, can 18th be included in your next neighborhood walk so that you can evaluate? It gets worse the later it gets in the day. And we also have traffic. We have traffic that leaves Perry Street from like drinking and things like that, and they speed straight down our street as well. We have lots of families on this block, and it's a high concern.
Yeah, Rosa, I can't speak specifically about the street, but I was going to yield over to Kelly and ask her to be able to address some of those concerns.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no specific plans to address 18th Street corridor itself. However, I think the best way to address traffic safety issues on your block on 18th Street is best way is through a TSA process, which is traffic safety assessment. I'm happy to share another link again. And I am aware of a few speeding related TSA already along 18th Street. So I can definitely double check just to make sure that your area is already included, but I'm happy to share the information.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Jong Olson, I think you might have said previously that you would also share with residents the TSA process. Do you think this would be a good opportunity to explain how a traffic safety assessment works?
Yes, I'm happy to. I just shared the link, but however, we are actually in the internal process of revamping this process because there's a lot of confusion, and we want to make sure that it's convenient for all the residents to request, and so we're actually working on it. But I just shared the link as of right now, but I'm definitely share once all the updated version is available with all the ANC commissioners. So basically, currently that's our standard to go through all the TSA, which is traffic safety assessment. So it's really designed for addressing safety issues on your block. So it's not necessarily for entire corridor, but it's where you live. So you see issues on your block, you want like painted crosswalk, better stop signs or better visibility issues. So anything traffic safety wise, TSA is the first step to go.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question that they'd like to unmute themselves to ask before we move to the next part of the agenda?
Oh yeah, I had a question. Hi, for DDOT. 18th Street has become a racetrack for everybody, and we have 3 schools, 1 middle school, a high school, and everything else. And now DC Water is going to put in some pipes. So can we get that resolved now, since that street's going to be cut off anyway? It's very bad, and it's one of the biggest dangers here. You have kids at risk, and this has been in front of you guys for ages.
Are you talking about 18th Street between Rhode Island all the way to South Dakota, or is there a specific blocks are you referring to?
Our schools are located from Monroe Street, and he's talking about John Burroughs Elementary School, Perry Street Prep, which also encompasses Truth and another school. So that's between 18th and Perry, in which the other young lady was just describing.
Yeah, definitely we'll take a look. I mean, I can give you more information that we can visit the location as well.
I mean, you guys can come out and meet the neighbors. That would be the best. I think Mr. Westerfield, Miss Westerfield's been putting out petitions for like decades on this. So maybe you guys can come out and meet the neighbors face to face. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
In all due respect, Ms. Young Olson has been out 3 times. So I commend you for that. So we have did a walkthrough several times. We have also done a walkthrough previously with the councilman. So DDOT has been engaged and has come out to the site. And as recent as, I guess, early summer, Ms. Young Olson was out as well. And some neighbors came out as well to talk about some of the issues that we were having. So if you would like to do that again, we can, but it has been done and it has been done most recent. So if you would like to plan for that, please just let us know and we'll be glad to set that up again. Thank you.
We would second that planning, please. Thank you.
It looks like we have a question from Tim Fitz.
I have a question.
I think if we can go with Mr. Fitz because his hand was raised, and then I'm not sure who
sorry.
that was. No, that's okay. Was it Ms. Smallwood, I believe?
Yes.
Okay.
Now?
Hi,
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Mr. Fitz, go ahead, and then we'll go to Ms. Smallwood. Sorry, Colleen, I totally just jumped in.
Apologies. Yeah, I entered some of this in the chat, and even though I've lived here for a number of years, I'm a more recent participant in kind of neighborhood advocacy and especially traffic safety issues, being that we now experience them on sort of a daily basis, and just kind of echoing the concerns of a number of our neighbors on 18th and Perry and you know, all around the neighborhood. We live on 9th Street, which is one street over from a slow street on 10th. And we had some serious safety issues before slow streets went in. I don't have any empirical evidence, but it feels like they've gotten a little bit worse since drivers are looking to kind of get around the barriers on slow streets and find ways that they can get to their destinations more quickly. We live on that stretch of 9th Street between Girard and Monroe, which doesn't have any traffic calming and runs along the metro tracks, which the neighbors on our block, you know, call the 9th Street super speedway. People, especially going northbound, trying to beat the light at Monroe, which is very short and can only really be seen for a block or two when they come up over that hill. So my daughters and I have, you know, had to jump out of the street a number of times, you know, trying to avoid speeding cars. And I apologize, I couldn't tell from the agenda if this was, you know, to be discussed tonight, or if it's going to be a separate meeting. And I'm happy to take this offline and work with Ra and DDOT and Kelly and whoever to provide whatever evidence is needed. Come have a coffee on my porch, watch the cars go up and down. We are, you know, we're just desperate for a solution. Stop signs, speed humps, anything. It's just, you know, there are days when it's utterly terrifying, and I hope that we can, as a neighborhood, do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Actually, Commissioner Amin and I had a talk about this, and he was going to schedule a special SMD meeting just to discuss 9th Street. So we were hoping to do that, you know, last year, hopefully in-person meeting in the fall, but then the, you know, pandemic still here. So I think he's looking to host a virtual meeting to discuss further. So DDOT had some internal conversation about how to address 9th Street. So it's on our agenda, so we can discuss further with the community, take the feedback, and then we can move on. So I'll touch base with Commissioner Amin to make sure that we can schedule a meeting with the community.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I have a question, last one from Ralph Buxell. He says the no left turn sign at 10th and Michigan is not always visible during the daytime. I don't know if there's a way to correct that or make it more visible during the daytime, but maybe we can follow up with Mr. Buxell offline after the meeting about that.
We're happy to take a look at that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I think I think he's talking about coming off the bridge, just to be more specific. Oh, and Miss Smallwood, sorry. Thank you for the reminder. Miss Smallwood, did you also want to ask a question?
I'm still here. My name is Eula Smallwood, and I've been living at 14th and Otis, excuse me, for over 27 years. And now the traffic, and now I'm disabled and retired, the traffic since speed bumps have been instituted on Newton, the traffic, but tour buses, tractor trailers, anything that's big, it comes down Otis now. I'm afraid to even go out with my walker because I think they will come on the sidewalk and hit me. Now, there are stop signs, but to some of the drivers, it's like a go sign. Now, I have seen police out there, but is there any way that any signs or speed bumps or anything can be instituted on Otis? I'm down the street from the Francisco Monastery.
Kelly, do you want to speak to that? I know we've had a couple of neighbors on that block as well as on the cross street. And we've had discussion about it. Could you please go over that?
Yeah, sure. I think there's one pending TSA for that Otis, but I think that's between 13th and 14th. So
I'm at 14th.
So are you at the intersection or?
I am right there on the corner, 1401 Otis, yes.
Gotcha. So, I mean, Otis Street is local road, so we definitely is eligible for speed hump. So we are looking into it, but 14th Street, unfortunately, it is bus route, so we cannot put speed humps. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. I guess I got a little upset. I'm talking about like in front of my house. I know that the H6 goes 14th. I can understand that. But you got cars coming from everywhere, trucks, tractor trailers. You know what? I never had any foundation problem before. As long as I've been here, all of a sudden I got foundation problems. So, and my main thing is now that I'm retired, I would like to be able to walk down the street, but I'm afraid because you know what? They speed like they're speed racers and everything. I think they'll run on the sidewalk and run me down.
Yeah, we'll take a further look at the intersection especially. So I believe we have crosswalks already, but we can double check all the signage to make sure it's all visible. Then I'll circle back to Commissioner Higgins so that she can provide updates back to you.
Okay, so there's no chance that like when we talk, that wasn't me that sneezed. There is no chance that like a sign, no big trucks or something coming through Otis because we are residential.
There is a sign at 18th and Otis Street that says no trucks over 1.25 ton, and it goes up all those streets. And what's happened is, and I've got pictures because I've been taking pictures throughout the neighborhood in Brooklyn and University Heights and Michigan Park. And these trucks are ruining our people's houses. And our people are paying over $700,000 for their homes. And they're all complaining that the city's allowing the trucks to come up the street. And the city has even put signs up saying no trucks. And the trucks go through the streets and they are, as in her house, they're undermining all of the foundations of these homes. And we've complained to the city. The city put the camera at Taylor and 12th Street for the trucks. The trucks still come by and they're going down the side streets now. So all the big trucks, and they're turning on the streets that say no trucks over 1.25 ton. And something has to be done. They put that sign at 12th and Taylor because they broke the water pipes at 12th Place and Taylor Street 3 times. I reported them twice. And so they kept on coming out and having to redo it. So we have a huge problem in our neighborhood of the city the city maps are not reflecting the restricted streets on which trucks are not supposed to ride. And even those construction trucks are coming up Otis Street.
Yes.
Like I said, I've got pictures of them, and that's not allowable. They had been coming up Monroe, and they go down Monroe Street sometimes also, and they're coming down, and the DC, they're using 13th Street, and that's why part of the reason why we have a terrible problem at Michigan 13th and Taylor Street, which we raised at the Brooklyn Livability Study, and they said they were going to do something. Nothing has happened. And they have so many accidents and have taken down the street lights, the telephone poles. And I talked to the contractor at the home at Michigan and Taylor Street, and he said he's been out 4 times fixing that man's iron fence this past year. The city has to enforce its laws. I've gotten the 5th district and the 4th district cops to ticket some of these trucks, but they are busy. But the city has to put out maps and then start a fining process of these people. I've worked with Catholic University to get their lawyers to stop those trucks that are going down our streets at construction. And but anyway, I'll give you a report on it because I've been taking pictures of all these trucks and documenting it. And also that neon sign, the city has been putting these extensions out like at 13th and Monroe in a location that you don't need a traffic light, extension on. And so people can supposedly see. That's what's needed for that no left turn sign at 10th and Monroe. It needs to be extended out. I've almost been hit twice in the last 2 weeks with crossing that intersection from coming across the bridge, going towards the Exxon station there. And the cars come up right behind me and it's frightening, but they can't see the no left turn signal. And if you go down during the day, if you go down at night, you won't be able to see it.
Okay.
Well, Ms. Smallwood and Mr. Buxell, one of the things we'll do, and I've taken some notes down now, and I know Kelly has as well. DDOT, we're not responsible for the enforcement piece, but what we will do is we'll jot these notes down to go back to DPW, also to MPD, and talk to them about some of these specific locations, and work with them to see if we can get some more enforcement done at those locations that were referenced. So I took some notes down, and I'll make sure that between Kelly and I and Linda that we go back and pull our sister agencies, MPD and DPW, to see about enforcement.
Well,
hey, you guys, let me jump in on this if you don't mind, because I want to talk a little bit about, this has been a very big topic in the council member's office and with DDOT, at least since I've been there over the last 3.5 years. In fact, it's why I joined the office when I started. It was because we had a big push against the trucks that were violating our roadways. And everybody may not know this, but MPD has a special unit called Special Operations Division, SOD. So when we get reports of trucks violating the truck restricted roadways, we ask MPD SOD to go out and enforce. Some of these roads, I think Otis, may not be truck restricted routes. So DDOT, the 311 system doesn't have a method for people to request truck restricted routes. So we've been looking for you guys to provide a process for people to do that. So if we could get that from you guys so that we can get more routes restricted, that would be helpful. And then we're also looking at the fine structures of,
Did you want to say something?
excuse me? We're also looking at the fine structures for the violations because we believe some of them may be baking into the cost of doing business violating these roadways. But we also want DDOT to look at, and we've had these conversations with DDOT, the council member level and our constituent services community engagement level, what DDOT could be doing up front, because you have the manifests, right, for all the companies, proactively advising these are the updated truck restricted routes. We've also found where there are, and there's a map, right, an ArcGIS map that shows what the truck restricted routes are. but unfortunately, not every road has signage. So then there's that disconnect, right? And so I think DDOT is looking for the community to say, hey, our block is truck restricted, but we don't have any signage up. And MPD won't enforce if there's no signage. So either we need DDOT to do that cross-check themselves, or the community to be proactive, check your block, and then let Kelly know or put a 311 ticket in for the missing signage.
Hi, this is Commissioner
Okay.
Costello. I'd actually like to jump in real quick. Ms. Jung Olson, I think you and I had exchanged an email about this recently. So the current truck routing tool, I think there was an issue with the map, and I think you said it followed roadway classifications and geometry to route truck traffic, from one point to another. But it sounded like the routing tool didn't take into consideration whether roads were restricted or not. Did I understand that correctly?
Oh, I'm actually going back to the email. So give me 1 second. Yes, so you're totally correct. So we are following the road classification and geometry. That's one thing. And then plus the current existing truck restricted route. So I think there's some technical issues between those two. So maybe one is applied, maybe not the other. So we are actually working on fixing those issues. I'm not sure if it's already fixed, but I can definitely double check, because that was literally less than 2 weeks ago. So I know that they're working on it, but I'm not sure if it's already fixed. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, it was happened to be a very timely communication that we got from one of my constituents who was concerned about the same issue. So it may well be, it sounds like, that some of these trucks are coming through neighborhoods using roads that are technically truck restricted, but the routing tool that they're using might be routing them that way in error. And so we're trying to figure out what the problem is and make sure that all of the maps that the routing tool takes into consideration are routing trucks off of restricted routes. Is that right? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We are running behind. It's not anybody's fault. We just had a lot to talk about, and everybody's excited about everything that we have on the agenda, it seems. So if anybody else has any questions, concerns, comments for DDOT, please go ahead and put them in the chat. We will make sure that DDOT knows what your question is. If you know what single member district you live in, and you can also include that, we'll make sure that your commissioner is included on any communications that get sent to DDOT. So go ahead and put those in the chat. I want to thank Director Lott, Ms. Jung Olson, and I think, oh, Ms. Bailey, you're still here. Ms. Bailey, for being here and joining us and answering everybody's questions. This was really helpful, and we'll follow up with residents with some of the things that you put into the chat to share with everybody tonight. All right, so thank you so much. We are going to go next now to Mr. Wallace from Capital Bike Share. His presentation should be quick.
Yes. I'll try
Sorry,
to keep it.
Ms. Jung Olson, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, just thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. All right, thank you again, everybody. Okay, Mr. Wallace, please go ahead.
Yes. Am I able to share my screen really quickly, or no? Is it?
You should be able to. Go ahead and try. Do you see a green share screen button on the bottom?
I do, but it says it host disabled screen share.
Okay, well, let me see if I can fix that real quick. Sorry about that.
All right. Oh yeah, no problem. No problem.
Go ahead and start talking while I see if I can figure this out.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, my name is Lester Wallace, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Capital Bike Share. And I'm just here to just share a little bit of information about a kind of a newer financial assistance program that Capital Bike Share is currently offering for not only DC residents, but oh, there we go. But also for anyone within the Capital Bike Share network. And the program is called Capital Bike Share for All. So just to just kind of run through it, Capital Bike Share offers affordable, accessible, and fun transportation options for everyone, regardless of income. And this Capital Bike Share for All program allows those who qualify for certain state and federal assistance programs to sign up individually for a discounted annual membership for Capital Bike Share. So this actually comes with it's a $5 one-time fee, covers a full year of unlimited trips using Capital Bike Share bikes. And just so you aware, Capital Bike Share, we're the red bikes that you see around the DC metro area at some of the different docking stations. There's over, I want to say 500 docking stations between DC, Maryland, and Virginia that operate well over 4,500 bikes. And we have the red Capital Bike Share bikes, and then we also have our newer black Capital Bike Share e-bikes. So with this program, it allows, again, eligible residents to be able to obtain an annual membership, which is normally an $85 fee. But through this program, it's only $5. And it gives them access to the bikes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. And given that Capital Bike Share is owned and operated by the different jurisdictions that are involved, this is actually a form of public transportation. So Capital Bike Share is actually operated by some of the same folks over at DDOT that also work on things such as the circulator, the streetcar on H Street, and some other things. Also with these memberships, only with this program do members actually get access to 60-minute trips using Capital Bike Share. So if you're not too familiar with how to use Capital Bike Share, just quick overview. Whenever you check out a Capital Bike Share bike, you essentially normally have up to 30 minutes to ride it and re-dock it or lock it by one of our bike share stations. With these memberships, again, individuals actually get up to 60 minutes per trip. And you can take as many trips every day as you want. So you could check out a bike, ride for up to 45 minutes and dock it. And moments later, you can check out the same bike and ride it for another 45 to 60 minutes, dock it, check it out again. You can do that all day, every day for a full year. And this membership program covers that just for a one-time $5 fee. Plus, also members through this program will also be able to get access to the Capital Bike Share e-bikes without any additional usage fees as well. So Bike Share operates again in the DC metro area. So pretty much every county that immediately surrounds the DC area is part of this network. So essentially you can pick up or check out a Capital Bike Share bike at a docking station in DC and ride the bike and drop it off at the docking station in Silver Spring, Maryland. Or you could pick up a bike in Arlington and drop it off in DC. As long as you find a Bike Share station or it's within the network, then it's all connected. But also for this program, in terms of eligible or qualifying programs, here's the list of some of the programs. If any residents are enrolled in any of these programs, they are automatically eligible to register for one of these Capital Bike Share for All discounted memberships. And residents must be 18 years or older to sign up for these particular memberships. And then just a few things real quick, and I'll kind of end off after this, but what residents need in order to sign up for one of these memberships are a valid phone number that can receive voicemail or text messages, a valid email address where they can receive program information. For payment, they would actually need to have either a credit card, debit card, or a prepaid card. And then also in terms of proof of qualification, they would need to provide either an EBT card, a Medicaid card, discounted utility bill, SSI, statement of benefits, or this final thing here, a letter of eligibility from one of our community partner organizations. So this would actually just be like a photo, a picture or scanned copy of one of these documents to be uploaded during the registration process. Now, in the event someone is unbanked, there are some locations more so in the Virginia area, Northern Virginia area, where people can actually go and pay in cash. Also, we do have a program called the Community Partners Program, where we have partnered up with over 40 different nonprofit organizations and agencies in DC. And through those organizations, clients and customers of those community partner organizations can actually register for these discounted memberships as well, and actually have a cash payment option through their community partner organization. And yeah, here's just a little bit more information about Community Partners Program, but you can actually go into the Capital Bike Share website, capitalbikeshare.com. And there's more information about the Capital Bike Share for All program. And within that page, there's also a link to where you can see a listing of all of our community partner organizations that we work with as well, and to try to provide these discounted memberships. But I'll leave off right there. And I can definitely share my contact information in the chat as well as a number to the Capital Bike Share customer service line in the event someone has any issues or technical issues registering for one of these memberships. That's pretty much it. I didn't want to take up too much more time, and happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
I actually have a question. Thank you so much for joining and for all the work that you're doing. One question in particular is, as we're thinking about who has access to this service, have you all worked with the Office of Returning Citizens at all? And if so, because I know that oftentimes returning citizens don't qualify necessarily for some government programs, but they also have very strict limitations in terms of transportation, especially when transitioning back into the community. So I know, having worked with some directly, that this would be a boon as an alternative to buses and metros, which sometimes can be late or not on schedule, especially in COVID time. So it would be lovely to be able to offer up an alternative to get for jobs and interviews, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually have not been in touch with anyone from that office as of yet, but I am actively trying to reach out to as many different agencies to see how we can work together to better promote the program for individuals like that as well. We actually, some of our community partner organizations work with returning citizens, so we do include that, I'll say, that demographic, if you will, as eligible in terms of being low income or underserved. So I very much would like to thank you for that recommendation. I'll try to reach out to them and see what we can do to try to get them on board, or even route them through our community partners program, however we can make that work.
Absolutely. And I'll be happy to connect with you offline. I can put you in touch with some folks that I've worked with there that might.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Okay. Yes. Thanks so much.
Of course.
Mr. Wallace, we have another question in the comments from a resident who wants to know whether DC Alliance, which is like Medicaid for undocumented workers, would also work for eligibility for the program.
I can look into that. And maybe it's a thing where if for whatever reason we're not able to get them listed as in terms of just providing basic documentation, again, we can maybe find a way to get DC Alliance on board as one of our community partner organizations, and then by default, any of their customers be eligible kind of through them, and they could help provide some additional kind of registration assistance as well. So I'll definitely check into that and see what we can have happen with that.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for your presentation. This sounds like a really great program.
My pleasure. And if anyone also has any other ideas of any other nonprofit organizations or agencies, again, that this would be a benefit to, our goal is to really to cover as many, again, people that are low income, but also, again, what we would consider underserved as well in other ways. So whether it's, again, directly through these individual registrations or partnering with some of these organizations so that we can make more people eligible that really need this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And I hope you have a great evening. Thank you so much.
All right, stop the share. There we go.
Oh, you're fine. We can change it. So next on our agenda, I have DC Water, and we've got two presenters joining us tonight, Mr. Emmanuel Briggs and his colleague, I hope I say your name correctly, Craig Fricky. Did I get it right?
Got it right.
Oh.
Yeah, you got it right. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for being here. So kind of in keeping with our transportation and infrastructure theme, these gentlemen are going to be discussing what projects DC Water has coming up and also addressing any questions that residents might have about either those projects or generally how DC Water prioritizes which repairs to make and what the response times are and things like that. So I will mute myself and let you guys take it from here.
All right, so thank you, Commissioner Costello and other esteemed commissioners on ANC 5B. My name is Emmanuel Briggs. I am the Manager of Community Outreach in DC Water's Office of Marketing and Communications. And we've been invited to talk to you, as Commissioner Costello mentioned, been invited to talk to you about infrastructure and operations. So I'm going to share my screen. Oops. Share.
If you're having trouble with screen sharing, our technology whiz, Prita, Commissioner Piquera might be able to help if we can't get
Let me make sure that you have the ability to share.
I've got it pulled up.
There we go.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. So let's see here. There we go. All right. So on our agenda, we're going to talk about, of course, introductions. There's myself and there's Craig. There are other subject matter experts on the line as well. So as questions come up, I will call out other folks on the line from DC Water tonight. We're going to talk to you a little bit about capital improvement projects that we're doing in the ANC 5B area, current and upcoming in the next 18 to 24 months. We're going to give you a little bit of information about our water and sewer operations that we do at DC Water. And we're going to wrap this up and give you some helpful customer service information. And with that said, Craig, jump in.
All right, thanks, Emmanuel. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I wanted to highlight 5 projects we have going on in this area right now. As last September, in September 10th, 2020, we had a severe storm in DC, and that caused a number of basement backups, including a number in this area. And as a response to that storm, we've expanded our backwater valve program, which allows residents to get up to a $6,000 rebate towards the installation of a backwater valve on their service connection. This device prevents water from flowing from the sewer back up into the house. To date, we've approved over 25 of those in this area. We are also just starting in April of 2021, we'll be initiating a study of some of the clusters of backups in this area to determine what, to see if we can determine what the cause of it is. This area is served by a separate sanitary sewer area, which means stormwater and rainwater should not be getting into the sanitary sewer and backing up into homes. So that's the purpose of this study, would be to try to determine the source of how that stormwater is getting into the sewer and causing trouble. Another study is in April of 2020, we had a number of backups around the area of South Dakota Avenue and 19th Street that were caused when a water main broke and flooded the sewer and backed up into people's homes. As a result of that backup, we've cleaned and repaired a number of the sewers in the area, repaired 6 manholes, and we've also approved backwater valve rebates for people that were affected by that, those backups. And we are also going to be replacing about 2.5 blocks of water main on 19th Street and Randolph Street as a part of a nearby project. We're planning to expand that project and do those 2 blocks. A water main replacement, those blocks have experienced a number of breaks. You can go to the next slide, Emmanuel. We have a small diameter water main replacement project in Bunker Hill. This project has experienced a number of delays, first due to budget issues, then due to COVID issues, and now due to permitting. And we really appreciate everybody's patience while we worked through all those issues. We realize having us in the neighborhood for that long is a big inconvenience, and we're anxious to get this wrapped up and get out of there too. The project is winding down now, and we expect final completion, including all restoration, by July of 2021. Go to the next slide, Emmanuel. This is another small diameter water main replacement project in the Brooklyn neighborhood. Contractor is just about ready to mobilize. The water mains and all the water mains in the street along these streets here, 17th Place, 18th Street, 17th Street, Randolph, and Otis Place. Those water mains in the street will be replaced. The project also includes replacing the individual service lines from the water mains in the street to the individual property lines. In addition, the one thing we want to point out too is that under this program, any residents with lead or galvanized lines from the property line to their house are eligible to have that service line replaced as part of this project at no cost to them under a new city program. In order to take advantage of that program, it is important that you sign an agreement. We need to have an agreement signed from each homeowner to take advantage of the program. These agreements will be provided to the homeowners in advance of this project. We encourage all homeowners to complete the agreement, even if they do not think they have a lead or galvanized service line, because sometimes when we're out there in the field, we unexpectedly encounter lead or galvanized lines, and if we have a signed agreement, we can just get it replaced on the spot, again, at no cost to the property owners. More information on this project, including notifications regarding project parking restrictions and water shutoffs, will be provided to the residents as the project progresses. Okay, Manuel, go to the next project. This one is a small project. We also have a small project to eliminate dead-end water main on South Dakota Avenue near Michigan Avenue. This project is a small project and will improve water quality to several homes that are currently being served on that 8-inch dead-end line. And so we expect that project to take just 3 to 4 weeks to complete, and will be done this summer. And that's kind of a summary of the projects we have in this area. Go back to you, Emmanuel.
All right, thank you, Craig. So as Craig just mentioned, there's lots of activity in terms of capital improvement projects, but as you've seen, there's lots of DC Water activity all over the city. So in addition to the capital improvement work, we also have water and sewer operations that are happening all the time, addressing issues in the street, such as water main breaks, such as needed valve replacements, water leaks, all kinds of things you kind of notice in the street. Things have been reported to DC Water 24 hours a day. This is basically a slide that kind of shows you, as we get these issues that come into our 24-hour command center, these are all ranked. They're given a number according to the level of severity of that break or that leak or that sinkhole or that whatever issue you'd find in the ground. And so oftentimes, I know customers are often told, it's a level 3. So we'll be out there in a week and a half approximately, and they don't know what that means. So this slide, we just want us to kind of convey and kind of show the different attributes that what goes into each ranking number according to the level of severity. All right, so and generally, whenever we do water shutoffs, we are required to give you a minimum 48 hours advance notice for any planned water outages in the street, be it planned work for operations or be it planned work for capital improvement work. Unplanned or emergencies of that nature, we will sometimes provide notice if conditions allow, but oftentimes with emergencies, that leaves us little room to provide advance notice because of the level of severity. We've got to jump in right away, kind of get the work started. So we don't have a lot of window sometimes to provide advance notice. However, one thing that we are piloting is a new electronic notification system called Everbridge. And so in addition to the door hangers you may get on your doors, in addition to emails you may get from me about different water shutoffs and things of that nature, we're also doing an electronic system whereby we can notify you via email, via text message, any method of communication that we get from you, from customers. We can notify you about those different water shutoffs. We can also notify you, in addition to schedule shutoffs for the work, for tests just before the work. So what we will do every time before we do a scheduled shutoff or an emergency shutoff, we will do what we call a test shut. And that's where assessing valves in the area along area water mains. we need to see what are the operational valves that we can use to shut water off when it's time to do the work. So through Everbridge, we can notify you for test shuts and for scheduled shutoffs. All right, so this is a link by which you can click and you can provide us your information. What we are doing for this meeting and other meetings hereafter is collecting customer information so we can have in our database. So when we send out these Everbridge notifications about these test shuts or these shutoffs, we can notify you about these things. So when you click this link, and I will drop this link also in the chat box, but it's also included in the presentation, as you see, and I have provided this to Commissioner Costello, so certainly you feel free to provide this to fellow commissioners and your constituents as well. But when you click that link, it's going to show you this screen. Once you put in that information, click submit, it'll take you to this screen, and that's where you submit your information, and it's captured with us. So when it's time to do these Everbridge notifications, we know how to contact you. All right, so first and foremost, you see these purple letters here, do not call 311. So oftentimes customers will report water and sewer issues they see in the street to 311. Because we are quasi-governmental, 311 is not DC Water's emergency call center. And so what happens is it will sometimes retard the process by which we get those requests. Sometimes they don't come to us at all. They may just get lost in cyberspace, if you will. So please have customers call 202-612-3400 to contact our 24-hour command center and report those issues. Also, you can contact us via the web as well, by that link as well. But again, please do not advise customers to call 311. And finally, we want to know what you think about us and what you think about our outreach efforts and what you think about this presentation and how much you love DC Water. And so this is a customer feedback survey that we are now also providing at the end of every community meeting that we attend. We invite you. We hope that you all will go onto this link and to submit a survey. Let us know what you think about DC Water. I will also drop this link into the chat box, but again, it's here on the presentation for your use. And that's it. Any questions?
There's questions in the chat.
So I think we had a question in the comments. Let me scroll back and see if I can find it. You will probably notify residents of this, but the water repair project that's happening between 18th and 20th Streets near Newton. Will you advise residents on where they can park? And are you coordinating on that?
What's the location again, Commissioner?
Sure, it's between 18th and 20th Streets, and I think near Newton was the other cross street.
Okay. We may need to check into that one, Craig.
Yeah, that's not part of this existing project.
Okay, yeah, I don't know which project they might have been referring to.
There might be something on the operation side, maybe.
Okay.
We may need to just look into it. But what was the question was it was about notification of parking?
Yeah, they just wanted to know if residents would be told where they can park during the project timeline.
So we will typically not advise customers on where to park. What we will do is work the best of our ability to the best of our ability to minimize the impacts of parking and try not to take up more parking than we absolutely need for the work itself. But it's on certain special projects. We've advised folks where to park or provide alternative parking areas or APAs. But typically for these sort of operations things and wholesale for the CIP projects or capital improvement projects, we don't typically advise customers on where to park.
And we do try to keep minimize the amount of no parking. We put no parking signs up. We try to get in there, and then we move on. So you may see no parking signs a couple times during the course of a project, but they shouldn't be in the same space for weeks or anything like that. It's usually a matter of a few days at the most.
Okay.
If they're ever blocking anything like a driveway or something, they will quickly move. If they're blocking access to something critical like a driveway.
Got it. There's another question I just saw. Can DC Water come out to test lead content in indoor faucets?
I am going to have our Director of Water Quality speak to that. Maureen Schmeling should be on the line.
Yes, I am.
All right.
I got in. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Hey, Maureen.
And yes, we do offer free lead testing, one free test per year for everyone. And you just email us or call us and we'll mail the kit out and then we come pick up the samples when they're ready. So I put in the chat with the email address.
So I have a question because I wasn't able to get on earlier, and I just got on. So if you're a resident or a business and you have a question for DC Water, what is DC Water doing to work out their constituents who go to 311, because 311 says that you can come to them for anything. So if we can't contact you through 311, are you guys working out with 311 so that you guys can get actual information, particularly from residents as well as from business?
Okay, I can address that.
I tried to get that through the chat, but there was no way for me to do it.
Yes, I can address that. So our call center is 202, and it's in the presentation as well. Our call center number is 202-612-3400, 202-612-3400.
I get that, but going forward, are you guys doing anything so that there's a connectivity between your contact number and 311? That's my question.
Emmanuel, this is Salil. Could I jump in?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. We are absolutely working with 311 to make sure that we don't drop any information that comes to them.
Thank you.
They will sometimes call us too. Yeah, there are folks sometimes at 301 that have called me and because they're used to working with some of us at DC Water, they will actually pick the phone up and call us and say, can I connect you with this customer that's just called in too? So some of that is also happening, currently.
And I don't disregard that it's happening, but Jane and John Q. Public may not know that, and they will call 311.
Yep.
So what I'm asking is 311 working so that if I or anyone calls, business or resident, call 311, they can connect to you?
Gotcha.
That's my point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I can just add, hi, it's Stephen Dudek, the Water Service Division Manager from Office of People's Counsel. So if you call 311, they should be routing any utility calls to the Office of People's Counsel. And if we do get any calls regarding DC Water, we'll definitely get in contact with Mr. Briggs or the command center. So if constituents are contacting 311, we will be able to route them to DC Water.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we move on? We do need to keep going with our agenda since we're still running behind. If not, if there are, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll make sure we connect you with DC Water. If you have your contact information, you can either send it to me directly in a direct message. Just select my name from the drop-down menu and I can pass that along, or you can share it with everybody in the chat and I'll still make sure we connect you with DC Water. I do want to move along now. Thank you first, I should say, to DC Water and everybody who's here answering questions. Really appreciate your time and the effort that you put into putting together a presentation for residents tonight. So thank you all so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And so I do want to move now to the Office of People's Counsel Water Division. We have Mr. Mark Williams and Stephen Dudek, who are going to be talking about programs and resources available for residents.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Commissioner Costello and Ward 5B commissioners. My name is Stephen Dudek. I am the Water Service Division Manager for the Office of People's Counsel. And let me just have a brief slide for you. We are your utility advocates. And so I am going to turn over to my colleague, Mark Williams, who will give you tonight's brief presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Can everyone hear me well?
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks again, Stephen. Thank you, Commissioner Costello, community members, and all of Commissioner 5BL5. Again, my name is Mark Williams. I am the outreach specialist for the Office of the People's Council's Water Services Division. And as Stephen mentioned, we consider ourselves like the utility lawyers for DC ratepayers. And so when DC ratepayers have a grievance with the utility service providers, we are staffed with attorneys that would accompany those customers who had grievances that required what we call an administrative hearing in order to resolve their issue. We would provide an attorney to you to accompany you to that hearing free of charge to ensure that you had adequate representation and all the resources that you would need to make the kind of argument that would be in your best interest. We at the Water Services Division, specifically, our inception began in April of 2019 when the DC Council passed the, Water Consumer Protection Amendment Act of 2018. That regulation empowered us to essentially begin taking customer complaints and investigating water consumer issues from that point forward, and been doing so ever since. Our contact information, resources, and things of that nature can be located on the Office of the People's Council website. We are in the process of upgrading that website, but certainly we have pertinent information there that is accessible and will assist you when it comes to making sure that you have certain information that you need, as well as your rights as a consumer. But please, if you have any questions beyond whatever information that you get from our website, please don't hesitate to contact us directly because we are here to serve you. The Water Services Division is in the process of conducting our own Water Services Division event at the end of April. We're going to be sending out some promotional information, giving you some details about what that event is going to be about. But briefly, that event is essentially going to be our first, let's call it inaugural event, where we're going to provide some opportunity to do some engaging with us, some interacting with us, some information sharing. You'll have an opportunity to hear from some representatives from utility service providers, so you can get some information directly from them, as well as get to know us a little bit better in terms of what we do, why we exist, and how we can be of assistance for you. And if I'm missing anything, Stephen, please feel free to fill in. But I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to cover again too much time. I know it's already getting late. But again, Stephen, if I miss anything, please feel free.
Great, thank you, Mark. The only thing I just wanted to add very briefly is just available utility assistance, water assistance programs. First is the Customer Assistance Program, which is CAP, which provides a deduction in your monthly CREAC fee. So what you may notice in your water bill, you get charged for your water usage, sewage usage, but there are also fees to protect the environment. And this program is a way to deduct those fees from your monthly bill. So I definitely recommend looking through this program or going to the online application. We will email these slides to ANC Costello so you can forward out to your constituents. In regards to COVID-19 utility assistance, especially water assistance, there's two programs. And DC Water is funding both of these programs. DC Water is ensuring that you're not falling behind. And the biggest message that both DC Water and OPC can relate to you is be proactive. If you're behind on your rent, on your utilities, please contact us so we can work with you, so we can work with DC Water to ensure that you are not behind, that you get caught up to speed and have a outstanding balance of $0. For the residential program, you can get up to $2,000 and you don't have to wait. You can keep on applying through the Department of Energy and Environment up until that 2,000 max. So if you're behind, say $500 right now, please apply. Please reach out to us and we can definitely assist you in applying. And then if you fall behind 6 months from now, you can reapply and get that additional money as long as it doesn't exceed $2,000. Initially for the residential program, it's been funded by the government, but DC Water has taken the initiative to make sure that program is funded throughout fiscal year 2022. And if any representative from DC Water is still on the line, if I misspoken, please feel free to chime in. They also initiated this multi-family program called MAP, which is for residential units that have 4 or more units of their property to assist those tenants to receive a rent reduction. They receive a rent reduction if the owner of that property qualifies for the $2,000 and then makes a contract, an agreement that if he receives that funding, he will apply that deduction or value of that deduction to the tenant's rent or cost of utilities. But it's definitely a great program if you are a tenant or a homeowner with 4 or more rental units. And I definitely recommend reaching out to DC Water about that program. And again, the only thing that I just want to add to Mark is we're very excited for our event in April. We're focusing on flood preparation. We know Ward 5 has been hit hard by the September 10th flooding, and we want to prepare all DC consumers for the next rainy season. So we're inviting DC Water, DDOT, HSEMA, DISB, climate activists to come to our presentation to talk about how citizens can be prepared, can protect their property, what government agencies are responsible for assisting individuals affected by flood, how the city responds, and it's going to be a great event. And again, that's Tuesday, April 27th from 2 to 4. If you want to make sure you receive the link, please put your email in the chat box and we can add you to our listserv to ensure that you receive the link for all OPC water related events, as well as any updates in regards to water regulation. I'll also put my email in the chat box as well. And again, if you have any water related questions, any concerns, please contact us and we can definitely advocate for you in our discussions with DC Water. Thank you, and we appreciate having the time to speak.
Well, thank you both so much. If nobody has questions, I'll wait a minute to see if anybody does. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you do have a question.
Yeah, I posted some questions in the
And
chat.
this is for the Office of People's Counsel, just to be clear. This is not DC Water anymore.
Yeah, no, I understand. And my question, I had a couple of questions in there about the LIHEAP program, whether you guys offer reciprocity for LIHEAP participants.
So there's no for water, there's no LIHEAP, but I believe, and Mark, please add anything if I misstate anything. I believe if you qualify for LIHEAP, you should be able to qualify for the residential or for the multi-family assistance programs or all of the programs that we spoke today. So what I recommend, Mr. Durant, if you just want to send me an email, we can follow up with Department of Energy Environment and see if we can provide you any utility assistance.
Yeah, I sent an email actually to Matavos Fry all about LIHEAP, but I haven't gotten a response back from her yet. It was a very detailed explanation about the bureaucratic red tape that's involved with LIHEAP, trying to, first of all, get into LIHEAP, and then once you're in, trying to leverage that for other benefits. It's a very difficult thing for people that are low income to leverage, and I was hoping that the OPC would be the champion of LIHEAP beneficiaries. It would actually be the ones that we could go to complain about not getting LIHEAP or to help us to get LIHEAP. Are you guys working as part of your mission to make LIHEAP easier for district residents?
So I would say that would be probably the main focus of our brother division, consumer service division. So if you can forward me that email that you sent to the People's Council, I can definitely follow up and make sure we get a response, because we do want to make sure it is easier for all consumers to get utility assistance that they desperately needed. So we're definitely working on that, and definitely want to make sure there's not a lot of red tape, that people get access to the funding that's needed. So yeah, so if you could just forward me that that email, and I can definitely follow up with you. And I did put my email in the chat box.
I appreciate that. And one last thing I put in the question box was about the Biden infrastructure proposal. There's talk about giving millions of dollars for infrastructure, including to water and sewer authorities. So if we get millions of dollars for water and sewer, will you be fighting to make sure that DC Water gives some of that money back in terms of lowering our water bills?
So we are your utility advocate. I think there's I think that's definitely in play. I think the biggest thing is getting understanding on how much money is being devoted to what, and I believe in April we'll actually get that determination from the mayor's office and DC Council. And so I think depending on the amount of money, we will definitely determine what's best to advocate and work with DC Water to ensure that it's used in the best interest of all DC Water consumers.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining our meeting and for your presentation and answering questions from residents tonight. I think, Stephen, I think you would put your email in the chat so it's there. If you have any other information you also want to share, like a website or anything, please go ahead and do that so people can find it and they know how to get in touch with you guys. And thank you very much again to you and Mr. Williams for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. So we're going to go next now to Mr. I'm sorry if I say your last name incorrectly. Is it Acho?
Actually, that's correct. You are one of the first people to actually get it right.
I'm on a roll tonight. I'm getting everyone's names right. This never happens. And so you're from, I'm going to get the name wrong, the Mayor's Office of Volunteerism. And I know there's more to it than that. You wanted to talk about the volunteer snow removal program because you're soliciting volunteers for next winter already, right?
Right. So I'll keep this pretty brief. So yeah, as Ms. Costello said, my name is Matthew Acho. I work with Serve DC, the Mayor's Office on Volunteerism and Partnerships, and I'm one of the District Volunteer Snow Team program leads. And so this program is fully volunteer supported. And it's basically so that, we have volunteers that when there's 4 inches of snow or more, we have volunteers that are matched with senior and can go out and, or a person with functional needs and can go out and shovel their snow when we hit 4 inches of snow or more. And we need more volunteers for this program because currently in Ward 5, we have about 351 seniors who do not have a volunteer match to them. So, as we said, we got a little bit more snow this season. So we're trying to get more volunteers. So if you know anyone who would be interested in volunteering, I mean, it's a great thing for high school kids, college students, anyone to kind of give back to the community and make sure that, seniors and people with functional needs, can safely get out of their homes and go about their business after a bigger snowstorm. So if you know anyone that's interested in volunteering for that, you can reach out to us at dcvsp@dc.gov. And I'll put that in the chat. And we have a PowerPoint too that I'm not going to go through on here, but I'll put that in the chat as well. Just to give everyone an idea of, what the program looks like as a whole. And the very last thing I was going to throw out there is, so Serve DC, we do a lot of things throughout the DC community. And one of the things we do, my colleague Prim does, is the community emergency response team. And they basically train people to help neighbors respond to emergencies. And one thing they're doing tomorrow, which is kind of interesting, and I'll put the information for it too, is in honor of Women's History Month, They're doing a brown bag lunch and learn on women in emergency management, and it's aiming to amplify women's voices and leadership and career experiences in emergency management to create pathways and possibilities for future generations to careers in emergency management. So I can put the RSVP information on there. I think it'll be a good session, but there's a lot of things that we do. And that's kind of like what I wanted to throw out there for tonight. But yeah, I can, I'll put my information and the DC VSP program's information in the chat. And that's essentially what I had, but please, you know, we definitely need more volunteers for this next snow season. So please do, if you know anyone, you know, let's, we'd like to see people get signed up.
Hey, Matthew, this is Renee McCray. Does the program offer transportation? Because I do know kids, but they don't always live in areas where seniors need it the most.
So yeah, I can answer that question. We usually do is we don't want our volunteers to be, you know, driving to the place they're shoveling for their own safety. So usually we do it within walking distance of their home. So usually at like something like 5 to 10 minutes walking distance, but yeah.
Yeah, the challenge is that a lot of places where seniors need it, there aren't a lot of younger people.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we don't currently offer any transportation options for that, but we do our best to get people, you know.
Well, no, I wasn't suggesting that you all did, but DCPS might be able to assist in that.
That could be interesting for us to look into. I appreciate that suggestion.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Acho.
Thank you.
Sorry. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm messing it up, I'm sure. But thank you so much for sharing this opportunity with residents. I think this is really a fantastic way to help those who might need it during the winter, and also keep the sidewalks safe for everybody. So thank you very much. And I think you're going to put some information in the chat. So if anyone wants more information, you can go there. And with that, I'm going to turn the host duties back over to my colleague, Commissioner Higgins. I'm so sorry that we're going late, but I think we can hopefully get us back up to speed. I know if anyone can do it, it's you.
I just want to thank everyone for presenting this evening. It's been a fantastic presentation that we've had thus far. Gave us a lot to feast on this evening. So thank you so much. And thank you, Commissioner Costello, for a good agenda. So we're going to keep moving. Right now, we are moving to our ANC resolution section of our meeting. And we're going to start with Commissioner Costello with the Michigan Liquors settlement agreement.
Thank you. So I have what has actually turned out to be a positive development that finally got resolved this evening, not long before our meeting tonight. So for those who don't know, there was a settlement agreement between Michigan Liquors and our commission that was enacted in 1997. It imposes a few restrictions on the business, including some of its hours on Saturdays and weekdays before holidays. It also requires the business to maintain, clean facility and requires the business to display appropriate advertisements in its windows, considering the residential neighborhood and the proximity to two different schools. So Michigan Liquors recently approached our commission requesting to expand its hours and make amendments to a few other provisions of the settlement agreement. I held a meeting with a representative from the store and constituents were by and large opposed to expanding the hours to the extent that the store wanted. So ultimately we were able to come to an agreement with the liquor store on what it had originally requested. And so I'm trying to pull up my document so I can share it with you. In essence, this new settlement agreement would only allow, it would extend the hours slightly. So it would allow Michigan Liquors to be open until 10 p.m. on Saturdays and on weekdays preceding a holiday. Currently, the settlement agreement only allows it to be open until 9:30 p.m. It would revise some of the other text that the store had requested, including who it can sell to. It still prohibits the business from selling to intoxicated individuals, and it just removes language regarding individuals of notoriously intemperate habits. Additionally, it requires still the store to maintain appropriate advertisements. We kept that provision in. And lastly, the business wanted to remove a provision that prohibited it from vending in its parking lot. Residents did not want to extend the store's sales to the parking lot area, so the business agreed to keep that in. So now we have a resolution, which I'm about to pull up here. If you just give me 1 second. And the resolution would incorporate all of these changes into a revised settlement agreement. Once our commission approves it, we'll sign it and then send it back to the liquor store for their signature. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. Now that I've got Zoom going, everything else on my computer is super slow. Here we are. Okay. So this is the text of the resolution, if everyone can see it, who is on video. The resolution just provides some background to this matter, and the revised voluntary agreement essentially says what I just recited for you. But I'm going to scroll down to the relevant provisions here so everyone can have a chance to take a look at it if they wish. If you have questions, now is a good chance for 5B05 residents to ask any questions they might have. I'm sorry, I should also say commissioners can ask questions if they have any, although you've already seen a copy of this. Okay. And so I'm going to move now that the commission.
Sorry, Colleen,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to highlight there was a question from Dan on the chat. Can you summarize the key differences from the old agreement?
Yeah, so let me see if I can pull up that document so you can see what it would look like. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to share a new document with you in 1 second. Okay. So this document that you're looking at right now shows what the original text of the settlement agreement looked like. The strike-through text represents what we agreed to eliminate from the original settlement agreement, and the new text in red shows what we agreed to add to the agreement. And so, as I mentioned, the liquor store did want to eliminate provision 9, which prohibits the store from vending in the parking lot. Residents said, no, we don't want to eliminate it. So the business agreed to keep it. The business also wanted to amend provision 10 regarding what kinds of advertisements were permitted in the windows. Residents did not want to amend the text as proposed, and you can see what the amended language is. It's struck through at the bottom there. So we kept the original language for provision 10. So the only substantive changes are in provisions 1 and 2. Provision 1, we just eliminated the individuals of notoriously intemperate habits language. And provision 2, we added a minor adjustment to the closing time for the store on Saturdays and on weekdays before public holidays. So that's it. Are there any other questions? I'm not looking at the chat, so Commissioner Becerra, if you see anybody else in the chat who has a question and you don't mind reading it, that would be great.
Not a problem. No question. Dan said thank you.
All right, you're welcome, Dan. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move that the commission adopt this resolution. I'll put the resolution back up so you can see it. Find it again.
Okay, a motion has been placed on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Okay, a motion has been placed on the floor and seconded by Commissioner Becerra. Call for the vote. All those in favor of the Michigan Liquors resolution and the changes to the original amendment, state aye.
Do a roll call, please.
Like a roll call, is that correct,
Then
Commissioner?
do a roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Curley,
Yes.
Commissioner Higgins,
Yes.
Kara is a yes. Commissioner Amin,
Yay.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor and seconded and has 5 in favor. So the motion has been moved and the resolution supported by ANC 5B.
I should just make clear that my vote is also an aye, in case it wasn't obvious.
Yeah.
take you down for an aye.
All right, so we're going to move forward to Commissioner Amin for his resolution for Crummell School.
Yeah, I hope my audio is, Prita, is my audio coming in?
Yeah, just keep talking, don't stop.
You got it. So I'm going to keep it with respect for time, I'm going to keep it really brief. All commissioners have received copies of ANC 5B's resolution and also the resolution that we want to support, which is ANC 5D resolution. And the summary of the resolution is a resolution to support ANC 5D resolution on the renovation of historic Carmel School, which was presented and passed on November the 10th, fiscal year 2020. So we've discovered that we have overwhelming support from our constituency here in ANC 5B, that they want to support our neighbors in ANC 5D with their request for asking the mayor to place $20 million in fiscal year budget 2022 for the preservation and the renovation of the Carmel School and the land over there. And I think that we're going to get all of this up on the website. So if anybody wants to actually look at all the resolutions together. But do we have any questions from the commissioners at this point?
Yes, could you read the actual resolution since you're unable to share it so everyone will know what it is?
I can share it.
Would you please share it?
We can pull it up.
Can you share Frida? Thank you.
Give me 1 second. Get it up. Unless you have it handy, Colleen. I am looking for it right now.
I have it right here. So let me just give it a read because it's really short, neighbors. Okay. So I read a resolution to support ANC 5D resolution on the renovation of Carmel School, which was presented and passed on November 10th, 2020. Whereas ANC 5B, in a show of solidarity with ANC's community groups, Ward 5 constituents, residents, and leaders, to join the Ivory City community in this campaign to call on Mayor Bowser to put $20 million in the fiscal year 2022 budget for the renovation of the historic Carmel School. And whereas the ANCs consider a wide range of policies and programs affecting their neighborhoods, and whereas ANC role in government includes the district's annual budget, and whereas, in fact, no public policy area is excluded from the purview of the Advisory Neighborhood Commission, and whereas public use of a historical site impacts and benefits ANC 5B constituents as well as all Ward 5 residents. And whereas ANC 5B constituents support ANC 5D constituents in their request to have a recreation, cultural center, green space, open space in the heart of Ivy City, because the public health benefits are well known by the constituents living, working, and playing in ANC 5B, who currently have recreation centers, historical landmarks, green space, and open space in their community. And whereas a resolution of Carmel School builds a stronger community within Ward 5, increases the overall health of Ward 5, and encourages Council Members McDuffie healthy Ward 5 commitment. Therefore be it resolved that ANC 5B supports ANC 5D resolution on the renovation of Carmel School, and resolved a resolution letter to support ANC 5D resolution on the renovation of Carmel School, which was presented and passed on November 10th, 2020. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. You mentioned
Sure,
that
Mr. Carter.
you have overwhelming support from the constituents. Are you saying you held a meeting? And I'm asking all commissioners this, since we are talking about hosting meetings when we receive to get to schedule on type of resolution.
That's a great question, Commissioner Collier. Thank you for asking it. So, no, there was not a meeting held. And reason why there wasn't a meeting held is because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in because of the pandemic. The support, and I see a lot of them on our meeting, on our virtual meeting tonight, came in through email.
Oh, because I didn't.
And we. Pardon me, Commissioner Carl, I didn't hear you. I interrupted you.
I never received. I received one email from one commissioner from 5D, and I just thought it was just a little concerning that one person whose single member district it falls in is the only person that reached out to us, and the commission as a whole, even when they voted in 2020 in November, did not reach out to us, and the commission now is not reaching out to us, so I'm not seeing that teamwork from the commission as a whole that's reaching out to a commission asking for support.
I will.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Ra.
Who's that speaking?
It's Frida.
Okay, Frida. And then I want to follow up with that because I really think that's a interesting point that I want to address. But Frida, you go.
I was just gonna say, I'll have to pull up the exact email, but I was included on an email from 5D commissioners asking for support. And I was also included on a number of emails from the 5B03 constituents asking for myself to weigh in on this matter. So I'm not sure who all the email went to, but I've definitely heard from the 5D commissioners on this matter asking for our support, getting it more. I just think this broadly impacts the Ward 5 as a community, not just 5D. And like I said, there's been a number of my constituents in my area that have specifically reached out saying that they would love for this to exist. So
just real quick. So yeah. Commissioner Rhodes from 5D01 is in the chats. She thanked us in the chats for supporting this, and she did email everyone in our commission on March 22nd, encouraging our support for this resolution. So we do have their kind of.
And I have to provide those. I second that as well. I received a number of emails as well in reference to it, as well as more today in between the other emails I received. So I'm not sure how the notification was disseminated, but the commissioners did reach out to myself as well.
Right, and here's the thing. I want to make this perfectly clear, and I want this on the record. This came before us in November of 2020 when this when when 5D resolution was first passed, I presented it to ANC 5B in November of 2020. No commissioner that was serving ANC 5B replied to the email. Only commissioner that replied to the email and then had a personal phone call conversation with me on the matter is Chair Higgins. Chair Higgins and I both talked about it. We fundamentally disagreed about how we should or if we should support this, but we did agree at the end because the other three commissioners that were still serving the commission in fiscal year 2020 had not replied, and either way, we could not take a vote on it. So it is extremely disingenuous at this point, because in 2020, Commissioner Colley, you were a serving commissioner and you received this, and I got no reply from you nor the other commissioners that were serving ANC 5B in 2020. So they asked for our support back in 2020, and it was clear that we had it. We did not have the number of votes to move in either direction in 2020. And I want to thank, and I said this before without context or detail, I want to thank Commissioner Higgins because she was the only commissioner that replied to not only that email, but consistently, replied to emails throughout the last year that we had correspondence with. So, and the community should know that. And also, Commissioner Colley, I have received several emails from your constituency on the matter. As a matter of fact, I see a few of them on this call tonight that asked us to support this because they know that I have been working on this since 2020. And when I asked them to reach out to you, Commissioner Colley, they said that they had not received any reply or response from you when I instructed them that's the route they needed to take. And they said that's why they felt most comfortable at that time reaching out to me. And so then I instructed that all constituency reach out to their individual commissioners as well as me as we moved forward.
Hi, this is Renee McCray, and I just want to say, if you look at the chat, you will see multiple responses from constituents in 5B who have supported this effort. So BNCA has talked about it at their meetings. If you have a way of recording the chat responses, you'll see that there has been support.
Thank you, Ms. McCray.
And just to be clear, in case someone gets confused about the fiscal year, Commissioner Costello and Commissioner Piquera were not, they were commissioners-elect. They were not serving in November 2020 when this was presented in front of, when I put this out there for the commissioners that were still serving in November 2020. So when we got a new commission, I thought that it was an opportunity. They reached out to us again and asked for our support, and I reintroduced it again. And I have to say that everyone replied to me, and I had a conversation with Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Piquera, and Commissioner Costello. Again, Commissioner Colley, you were the only person, the only commissioner did not respond to my email or reply to. The first I've heard about it was a comment that you made today on it. And we talked about this in the COW meeting in March, and I still hadn't heard from you. And it was fine, and that was fine.
If anybody is
So all of that really needs to be on the record for the community to know and to be in our public document. So I'm glad this is being recorded, and I'm glad that Commissioner Piquera, our secretary, our commissioner secretary is taking these notes. So this has been in front of us since November 2020. Since they passed this in November 2020, I've been trying to get movement on this. We could not get that movement until we had a new commission and we had the votes to move it.
Just so folks are aware, if they're interested in reading the text of Commissioner Amin's resolution, I am sharing it on my screen. I don't know if there's a, I don't know if you can see it or if there's a way to make it bigger, but perhaps my colleague Commissioner Piquera can help me with this.
You can zoom in on the PDF reader that you're sharing. So yeah, yep, that button.
Is that better?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I
It's
just
still
wanted
small.
to ask
I do want
quick
to make
question.
sure that we also note that Commissioner, you did say last year that Commissioner Higgins was the only one that responded. Now you're saying that I was the only one that did not respond. So I just wanted to make that note.
No, I didn't. That's not what I said, Commissioner Carly. As usual, you spin the truth, and that's not what I said.
Okay, we're going to move on. And so Commissioner, I would like for you to place your motion on the floor so we can move forward with the vote.
I move that ANC 5B supports the resolution to support the renovation of, supports ANC 5D resolution, support the renovation of the historic Carmel School.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay, the motion has been placed and seconded. Call for the vote. All those in favor of supporting the resolution for Crummell School. And we can do a roll call.
Please.
Roll call.
Excuse
Yes,
me, I'm
ma'am.
sorry.
Commissioner Carly.
Yay.
Commissioner Higgins.
Yes.
Kara is a yes. I'm assuming Amin is a yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Costello.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor, seconded and approved unanimously. So let's move forward with Commissioner Carly.
Okay,
For
so I
BZ
have,
application number 20444.
yes, I have a visa request, relief for rear yard. 25 feet is required, in, thank you, in residential areas zoned R1B. And this person, this applicant, lives at 19th and Bunker Hill Road. She basically wants to build a screened-in porch with stairs leading down, so it would be located on the second floor. And after the construction is completed, it's projected to be 11 square feet. And so it's a special exception. The residents basically at this point support the request, providing that the actual rear is 25 feet and no less. They have concerns that it may not have the space that that she's basically saying in her application that it's 25.3 feet. So I'm asking the ANC Commission to support this request, providing she has the 25 square feet in her rear yard.
Commissioner, I have a question. Is there any reason to suspect that the petitioner doesn't have 25 feet?
Because actually it was built in what you would say is a side yard, the house, the structure that's there now. And basically it's more of a shotgun type style structure. And so the residents believe that the structure took up maybe a little bit more room than it allows. And maybe it might be a little bit smaller than the 25 feet. So we're just asking Visa just to ensure that it is the 25 feet. So once the structure is completed, then it will be 11 feet, 0.3 inches and 11.3 and not 8 or 9, where it's more closer to the alley. on the setback would be closer than, to the alley than projected.
Thank you.
So I would like to put the motion on the floor to support the visa request. Again, providing that there is 25 square feet.
Do we know when that determination will be made? Because I guess hearing you say provided it is, or if it is, so is there, how will we know whether or not it does have the ample amount of feet?
A representative for this particular application will have that available April 9th, I believe. So we will know before then. So basically they will, I mean, it was something that he said it could be put in there. It would be no different than if we did a resolution, but this is just, it wasn't worth doing a resolution for one request for a variance. And this is an acceptable version of requesting that.
Just so other commissioners are aware, I went ahead and looked at some of the documents that the applicant had provided on ISIS to just try and understand what was going on. Because as Commissioner Carley knows, I emailed because I was a little bit confused about what we were trying to say with the Form 129 here. So you might not be able to see this very well, but there is a drawing or diagram provided by, I guess, the architect. And so right here, it does provide the measurements between the house and where the end of the new rear porch would be, and then where the porch would end and the property line. And so we've got 11 feet, 3 inches here, 13 feet, 9 inches there, which I just did the math. It does add up to exactly 25 feet right now. So I think Commissioner Carley is just saying she wants to confirm that that cumulative measurement is accurate, right?
Right, now it's saying 25 feet there, but then in the application it's saying 25.3. So there's some variance and, you know, difference depending on what you're looking at. So we just want to make sure that it's 25 feet and not 20.
Would that change you? I mean, if the rear setback currently is not 25 feet, which I know it's required to be under the current zoning regulations, would that be a significant problem? And I'm only asking because as part of the application, there were some photos included of other properties that abut the same alley as this home. And it looks like some of these other properties also have decks on the back of their home that are very close to the edge of the alley. And I'll just hold this up so you can see
No,
it.
those are the ones, yeah, those are the pictures that I sent.
Yep, that's right. So I found some version on ISIS as well, but you can see this one looks like it's very close to the edge of the alley, probably less than 11 feet. So I'm just wondering how big of a deal that would be to residents if it turns out.
If the application isn't accurate with the information, then another application or it would have to change. I mean, I think they would want the actual information, the correct information. I mean, right now they're okay with it, providing it is the 25 feet. But if it isn't 25 feet, then we need to know that. I mean, I don't want to know it in the middle of construction.
But those 3 inches might not make a significant difference, right? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, Commissioner Carley, place your motion on the floor, please.
Yes, I would like the commission to support this request for 25 feet rear yard reduced to 11 feet for a screened-in porch with steps leading into the side yard.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor and seconded. Call for the vote. All those in favor of accepting the resolution, the BZA application for 20444, say aye. Roll
Aye.
call, please.
Commissioner Carly,
Yay.
Commissioner Higgins,
Yay.
Commissioner Bracara is a yay, Commissioner Amin,
Yay.
Commissioner Costello.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, the motion has been placed on the floor. It's passed unanimously, and we are off to our next item. On our agenda, Commissioner Carly placed an item on our agenda for the comprehensive plan. We received the information from Commissioner Carly at 12 midnight and 2 a.m. this morning, which did not give the team ample time to go over the information, nor was the single member district commissioner informed or updated on that information. So we will not be placing that information up for a vote tonight. What we will be doing is having a single member district meeting on March 30th at 6 p.m. I am gauging my 5BO2 community and those most directly affected, so I can get a sense of what the community is looking for as far as amenities, what their insights are in terms of the properties. And then at that time, we will take a vote, and I will bring all of that information to the commission. And at that time, we will have a special meeting. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, that was my edit for the agenda. Commissioner Carly, you have a question or statement?
I understand that was your edit in the beginning. However, I just want to point out something that everyone needs to understand. Just because you host a special meeting does not necessarily mean that there is going to be a quorum so that you can have a vote. So I'm hoping that someone makes some commitments to say that they will attend that meeting so that there will actually have a vote that particular day when it's scheduled.
I thank you so much for your comment. I have heard back from everyone except for you. So that means that 4 people will be in attendance at the special meeting.
Oh, well, I must be missing my emails, and I swear I did not see that request, honestly. I did not see that, so I must have missed it. I didn't see it. But I also want to point out, because you keep saying about your single member district, I just want you to understand, this is just not about Howard University. This is about 5B that's going on, all over, and then the zoning, relief that they're trying, or the zoning restructuring that they're trying to do in 5B.
Yeah, I thank you for that comment as well. Yeah, I thank you for that comment as well. But in terms of just what you stated, referencing just not what's going on in my single member district, but they also have properties which is in 5B05 as well as 5B04. So again, none of us have had ample time to go over or meet with our constituents in reference to the information that you sent the first thing this morning. So yes, it would be nice to receive the information in a timely fashion so we can intelligently go over the information and discuss the information, and then be able to properly come to a full body meeting and share it and go forward with the vote.
Well, but even if you would have received that information, you still are saying that you need to go out to your community, so it would not have made a difference either way.
Well, I'll interject with that. I was one of the first people to suggest that we table this vote because I, as 5B03, do not have a direct connection from an ANC perspective to this development. And as a result, I am not well versed on it. And so receiving a resolution at 1 a.m. the day of the vote makes it very difficult for me to put in the attention and commitment that something this serious deserves. I think 24 hours at a minimum, but ideally 48 should be a respectable amount of time. This is the second time that we've had a resolution of importance that has come before the commission with hours before a vote. And pardon me, because I am new, so I'm still getting caught up on all of the zoning laws and other things, but it just feels kind of rushed to have this midnight rider at the last minute be tacked on. So I understand the point of having it go through 5B02 and the SMD there, but I think even more generally, had that happened, still having this come to us at the 11th hour just makes it really difficult. And I want to acknowledge that the constituents of the Howard East neighborhood that have put, like, I've gotten tons of phone calls and emails, and clearly the community is very impassioned by this. And it's very clear that this impacts them and it's something that they care deeply about. And as a result, for all the work that they put in, I think it behooves us to also put in the same amount of effort and consideration into what they're bringing forth. And so I just don't think kind of having it come to us at the very last minute, almost with no time, I can't speak for anyone else, but I'll be honest, I barely had a time to skim it with our meeting starting at 6:30 today. It just doesn't seem like that's how we should approach something of this magnitude.
Not a problem with that. And again, if I would not have gotten it in, then guess what? We'll be doing this after April, when the council have already voted on it. So I think the whole objective was to get it in so that we can make sure that we get it to the council before they vote, so it can have some sort of impact, or have a voice for those who are trying to ensure that it's not rezoned, the areas that they have put in their comprehensive plan.
I appreciate that. And I'll say that I Commissioner Higgins probably won't toot her own horn, but she had a SMD meeting scheduled for later in April, and not only bumped that up, but also coordinated with the rest of us to make sure that all of us were available to get us all on board to be able to vote on this before the comments were due. So, I think that she went above and beyond to make sure to accommodate what was a rush timeline that we all just were notified of today / at 1 a.m. So appreciate the importance of this. And I think we are all aligned on wanting to get comments in time for this to be considered. I think it's just more of, Commissioner Carley, you had suggested a few weeks ago that you would have resolutions for our agenda, which I appreciate. I just think we need to, as a commission, kind of come together, have some guidelines on how far in advance we're going to get those to our colleagues.
We can have some provision on how far in advance in order for us to have a vote. And trust me, if it was left up to me, you would have had it days ago, but since it was not, then, I have to do what I can when I get it. But what would have been really nice if we would have addressed this when, we had an opportunity to, when it was available, the comprehensive, suggestions and feedback was basically available to us so that we can be able to get it into the comprehensive plan, and we did not.
But we did have, we had a meeting, and we actually had it at Slow School in reference to the comprehensive plan, and a lot of individuals came out to that meeting and provided their suggestions. Dan Schran also knew of it, and a few others, and did participate. So I think throwing information out there stating that we did not do this or didn't do that is incorrect. If you don't know if we did it, then that's fine. And also, you were invited to participate in that meeting, and your statement was because it didn't have anything to do with your SMD. Wait a minute. And you did not participate. The people that participated in that meeting was Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Amin, You didn't show up. And
No,
then Commissioner, you didn't show up. But we're not gonna argue back and forth about what took place and why it didn't take place. And because of,
All for the orders of the day.
so what we're gonna do at this time, we're gonna move forward with our SMD reports. So Commissioner Carley, 5B01.
Well, I just had a meeting, so I think I, got the information out, but if there's anyone who is in 5B03 who's interested in serving on the Development and Land Use Committee, please let me know, and hopefully you'll get involved in what we're trying to do and the differences we're trying to make in 5B. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. For 5B02, I am going to have, is Mr. Jenkins on the line? Principal at John Burroughs, if you can unmute
Yes,
yourself.
Commissioner Higgins, I am here. Good evening.
Thank you so much. Good evening. So we had several calls and emails in reference to Ms. Hodges. I recognize you, and we'll deal with the questions during a public forum, but we need to get through our SMD report. We had a situation with the soccer team that was utilizing the field on John Burroughs' site. Could you talk about that? We had gotten a number of emails stating that they were booted off the property. And I understand that the individual was charging the parents for participation in the soccer program on DCPS property. Could you give us an update on that? Because it's a lot of misinformation out there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Higgins. We also have Ms. Ruiz on the line, who is a DCPS facilities representative. Ms. Ruiz, are you on?
I am. Hello, Principal Jenkins, and good evening, everyone.
So yes, we had the situation with the soccer team that came to the field, and the actual activities with the soccer team went on for months, and we got notification from DGS that the application process for the soccer team, you have to go through the facilities use building agreement. Currently, that process is inactive. So therefore, we're not able to, organizations are not able to utilize the field currently because that process is inactive. And so as a result, the soccer team is not able to utilize the field due to that particular restriction. And I can have Ms. Ruiz, she can talk solely about the actual facilities use agreement and sort of what that entails.
Sure, and thank you for that information, Principal Jenkins. Just to provide a little bit more context, the permitting that we currently do for our fields, on our spaces in general, we actually suspended that at the beginning of the pandemic. So about literally a year ago. And the reason we did that, we did not want to permit out our fields because we did want our communities to use our field with no issues, nor having them blocked with a permit in mind, knowing that our community wanted to use our fields for leisurely play or just to kind of be outside and just have a space to come together with their families, knowing that space has been very limited over the past year. My understanding of the situation is that that particular organization, without the proper building permit, so there's a building use agreement, and within that there's a permit to use the field. They never submitted a permit, and unfortunately they couldn't have because it's suspended for now. That they have been operating their sort of organization and business without the proper approval, insurance information, there's a cost associated with using our facilities. So just kind of want to, circle back and hone that in for a second. We, of course, are working on being able to open up our permit process for later in the spring and the summer. But the reasons as to why DGS Realty Office asked that particular program to stop operating is because technically they could not operate their business on DCPS property without the proper permitting in place. I'm happy to sort of answer any questions that you all may have, or even you, Principal Jenkins, let me know if I missed anything. But, you know, just as a reminder, since the pandemic started, we did sort of suspend any permitting of our spaces. So our communities are able to use the space without any restrictions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? All right. I thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate you both coming on and discussing that particular program and what has actually taken place on the property. And could you drop any information, the contact information for DGS in reference to how someone can contact your office if they have additional questions?
Sure. So actually our DCPS permitting is actually run through our office. So I'm a DCPS employee. I'm happy to put my email in the chatter. And then if you all have questions about permits or using our fields, I'm happy to connect you with our permits team. We actually do have one at DCPS. So I'm happy to put that in the chatter. No worries on my end. And my name is Cynthia Ruiz.
Thank you, Ms. Ruiz. I really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Absolutely, no worries. My pleasure.
Have a good night.
All right, have a great night. Okay, SMD 5B03.
Hello. No major updates other than we are going to have our first SMD 5B03 meeting on the 31st at 7 p.m. That information is on the website. I'll also link it in the chat. I apologize to everyone that it took me a couple of months to get up and running, but hopefully we can do now. I solicit the community's feedback on things they want to discuss for this meeting. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have Lashonia from Cure Our Streets, as well as someone from the Council for Court Excellence. Both are going to be focused on violence intervention programs and ways for us to engage with the community and hopefully prevent violence before incidents occur and try to alleviate the pressures on MPD. And so any preventative measures that we can implement and rally around in our community are going to be really the prime focus of this. But I welcome everyone to come join the meeting. Perspectives, concerns, things that you want to raise. I'm also meeting with liaisons from MPD tomorrow morning at the triangle of Rhode Island and 14th Street Northwest, or Northeast, my apologies, to talk about some of the rise in gun violence in that area. So I will also have a report out, as well as hopefully having some of the MPD liaisons at the meeting on Wednesday the 31st. We have so many meetings next week that I'm getting them all confused. But if anyone has questions or things that they'd like to raise or have seen on these meeting agendas, please let me know. But that is it from my end.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Pereira. 5B04, Commissioner Amin. Commissioner? Okay, we'll just go to Commissioner Costello and then we'll come back to Commissioner Amin.
All right, I actually don't have anything to add today. I've been in touch with residents quite a lot the last week or two. I got to meet some really great people during our cleanup last Saturday. So I'll bug you guys with any updates I have to share via email. So I'll leave it at that.
Great. I'm here, Chair Higgins. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello. All right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. I have to get used to using my phone. Okay. So for the record, the balance in ANC account is $7,325.59. All invoices are current. We're still in the process of reviewing and updating our worksheet, and everything's looking good. So put that in the books. And also to Commissioner Chair Higgins' comment that 5B04 constituents. I did not attend. That was a special meeting in January 2020. It was called later and I had a conflict in schedule, but 5B04's comments were submitted separately to the DCOP, Office of Planning, and to Council Member McDuffie's office. And our comments were, the comments that I presented was basically around the Reed Street project and the 901 Monroe Street project. And I took those comments directly from the people that actually I met with. I held several meetings and I met with them and passed their comments on. So a lot of the concerns that have been expressed in this resolution have been forwarded to council and have been forwarded to DCOP. There's a few things in there that hasn't, but the majority of it has been. So I wouldn't quite give up hope or worry about it too much yet. And like Kelly John Austin said, that we're going to get a couple of meetings scheduled for one, the 9th Street project, and also I don't know whether Dan and Caroline is still on the line, but we're going to be meeting about a rezoning that's coming up really soon. And a residential going to a mixed use. It's going to start out as a smaller meeting, then move into a S&D meeting, and then move into a larger meeting from there. So stay posted. All of that will show up on my website. So all those that want to be involved in those series of meetings, you will have the opportunity to sign up and attend. And that's it for 5B04.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And at this time, we will have our community questions. And if we can remove the screen share, we can go ahead and do our questions.
Try to turn that off. Okay. Let's see if I can pull hers. That's not my screen share, but let me see. If
Okay, well, we can just, okay, let me go ahead and call on Ms. Hodges. She's been waiting patiently to ask her questions. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. My husband's going to ask the question for me.
No problem.
Well, thanks. It was good to see you. Good to see you, Commissioner Higgins. Thanks so much for having us on this, and thanks for having the meetings that we've had on Howard before. I just had a quick question on the single district meeting that you're going to have, where you want to have the vote. I wondered, because I've not participated in sort of a vote at these meetings before. Could you explain what the process is and like how who gets to vote? How do we get to vote? And then how do we, in verifying addresses, et cetera?
Okay, so this is a new process for all of us, so I'll give you that. And there's been a number of avenues that have been utilized to like do polls within the virtual meetings. So I am having someone to assist me with that. And then there's also, as I stated earlier, Commissioner Costello had sent out some information for us to sign and created a link. So I think that's another great mode of communication to receive signatures and feedback. And then someone had also asked about how will we get our elderly population and others informed and that they're able to participate. So we will have to get some volunteers. I mean, you guys have been fantastic. Some of you have been going door to door, knocking on doors. Yep. And this is the time for you to assist in that area as well.
Sure thing.
I mean, you've been so proactive in, getting the other information out, collecting signatures and such. I mean, I believe that we can all work together as well to get the information out to our neighbors and our seniors.
Great.
I'm glad you're pointing that out, because that was a real big effort with this petition to Councilmember McDuffie with 375 signatures. We were going door to door, and that the Brooklyn neighbors were very appreciative of that. So
I'm sure.
I was wondering, because I guess one of the concerns was, with these Zoom meetings, we've got, I guess you can only have about 100 people on at a time. How can folks, for the folks who can get on the Zoom meeting again, is it the idea that everyone's going to have to be on the meeting and vote then, or is there other way?
So I've already settled one thing. So
Okay.
I've already paid for a subscription for us to be able to house more people during our meeting, because that was something we had an issue with previously when we were doing our meeting before, because it actually cut you off after 55 minutes that you had an additional plan. So what I did was purchase additional plans so I could be able to have a larger number of people on that call and to be able to get full participation. As someone had stated, I was being spooked or scared, and some other wonderful, fantastic things that you guys have been sharing, and that has not been the case. As people have worked with me in the past, they know that I try to do my due diligence. I try to get in contact with the players in the game to ensure that the information that I am giving out is the correct information. So, what we're going to do is just have to hit the ground running. Yep. And to reach as many people as we can in 5B02. Yep. I am not the commissioner or the councilman for Ward 5. Just 5B02. And those people that are directly affected are those that need to be heard. There is, as Commissioner Cawley stated, and some others as a part of this neighborhood thing you have for the East Campus. Yes, it's fantastic, but you know that you can also send your own information if you want to do on a larger scale and submit that information. But my job at this time is to actually hear from those people that are directly affected. You know, people can talk to their blue in the face, but it's the people that actually live in that community, the people that's going to actually be affected by the construction, the people that are going to actually be affected by the commuters. You know, so these are the people that I want to hear from, because what they say matters, because they're going to be impacted. Yes, I do want to hear from those people. And yes, I'm going to work with someone to try to help me to be at a point where the technology piece can be put in place so I can capture all of that information.
Okay. How can we help? How can we help you with that? Should we talk offline about that?
Oh, no, it's no problem. We can talk in this forum. So, you know, if you looked in your emails, I actually sent out information regarding the new schedule. And what I tried to do is to ensure that I met that deadline. And according to the committee of the whole contact person, Evan Cash, he stated that the drop dead deadline would be on the 5th. So as you see, I changed the meeting date.
Yes, thank you.
So I would be able to accommodate all of those things. So everyone would be able to have as much input as they possibly can.
Thank you. That's great. That's great.
Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
You hear me?
With whom am I speaking?
Oh,
Mr. Johnson. Yes, sir.
Edward Johnson. I don't have a comment about that. I have a comment. Commissioner Amin spoke about the Crummell School. It's really an announcement. Some years ago, I was retained by Mark Barnes to come up with a design concept for utilizing that Crummell School as a multi-purpose community building, and we did it. Not only did we create some concept drawings, we actually created a rendering for that building. So I wanted to share that with you and with him as well.
Thank you.
By the way, he doesn't know I'm an architect and urban planner here in the ward.
Yes, we know.
You know, but he doesn't.
Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions?
No.
I see Ms. Wilkerson. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, I do know that, Mr. Johnson, and let's get that $20 million over there and see what we can do next. That'll be our next step, okay? I met you several times. I know you're an architect, yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Ms. Wilkinson?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Commissioner Higgins. I know we've exchanged communications in the past, and I wanted to thank you for always being responsive to my requests and questions, even though we haven't met officially. I live on the 4100 block of 13th Place. I'm a neighbor of Emily and Colin, and I'm also involved with the Howard East group regarding the Divinity School. I can see the back of the Divinity School from where I'm sitting in the back room of my house. So I don't know if I qualify as a 200 footer, but I'm pretty close. I just wanted to say that I appreciate Commissioner Piquera's desire to put in the time to address this and educate herself. But at the Howard-led discussion in March, this was not mentioned. So I think many of the residents feel that this was an attempt to be hidden in some way or buried in this future land use map process. And we feel that we would have had a lot more time to explore this issue of the flum, as it's called, if that meeting had been more transparent. So that's just my one thought. And I also wanted to thank Commissioner Carley for pointing out the timeline regarding when the council would be meeting and voting. I know that we all felt the pressure due to that deadline. And so thank you all for understanding that the rush was based on that timeline of the council's meeting and their vote. I also wanted to just clarify that I think at this point in time, the residents are less concerned with the overall final vision of the property and more concerned that the zoning follows that usual planning process that includes the usual traffic study, the environmental study. They want to make sure that those are conducted so that we can decide what we want to see there in an informed fashion. I've had the experience of trying to request a four-way stop and being told that I need to do a traffic study. So of course, if someone's looking to add 1,000 condos, they should have to do a traffic study for this area as well. So we would just like to make sure that we're hyper-focused on a resolution rejecting that flum process. I think you've answered most of the other questions. I know there's some questions in the chat about if the 200 footers are going to be weighted more heavily versus the rest of the 5B02 residents, and if each household will get a vote or if each resident. I know I have a renter in the basement who has a say in this as well. So could you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. As I stated 5B02 residents. I said 5B02 residents. So I did not omit anybody else, and I believe you are one of my constituents in 5B02. So that would include you as well as you know, the other person in your household. So, you know, again, it is important that I do hear from all of you in my commission area. And that's why I am gauging that information from you. You know, I just didn't send it out to the 200 footers. That would have been an easy feat. But I have sent this email out to over 150 people that I have emails for. So it's not just the 200 footers, but I said, I do want to hear from them because they are the most directly affected. But I want to hear from all of my constituents so I can be able to intelligently send out this information. Now, in terms of transparency, there is nothing to hide. In March, I did not have the information one way or another as to whether or not this vote would even take place April 6th. Even up to today, when I spoke with Mr. Cash, he wasn't sure that a vote would take place on April the 6th. But to stay on the side of caution, you know, he thought it best to be able to go ahead and get it in by the 5th, just in case they did. It would be brought up. There may or may not be a part 2 to it, so they may vote or they may not, or it may be a different date. I talked to I've reached out to the mayor's office. I reached out to the councilman's office. Nobody had a specific date as to when this vote would take place. So some of you are just geniuses because I don't know how you knew that information. And then talking with this gentleman, he was unsure. So again, the drop dead date for submitting the information is on the 5th. And they will have that information by the 2nd.
Absolutely. I don't want you to misunderstand me. I wasn't accusing you of not being transparent. I don't think you or this group here has done anything except support us every step of the way. I think that the frustration from the residents is focused on the firm that Howard has hired to support their interests, because at that Howard-led meeting, the refrain we heard from Mr. Fred Evans and others was, nothing has changed, nothing is changing. However, after learning about this flum, we see that it is either moving very quickly, which is a concern, or it was not brought up.
And again, we can only work with the information that we're given. And so once this information did come across my system, as you saw, I went into hyper mode to try to accommodate. But, you know, I will say this, you know, you have to keep in mind, we have certain processes that we have to follow as well. So, and I just want to make sure that I am doing what's in the best interest of you, as well as getting the information out. So we will do that. We are on top of it, and we'll see you on the 30th of March.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Commissioner Higgins, hi, yes, this is Roman Hayford. I live on the 4200 block of 13th Street. So like the previous neighbor who spoke, I can see the Divinity School. I'm not a 200 footer. And thank you. This has been really informative, actually. Like she said, a lot more informative than the meeting with some of the developers was, actually, because clearly, you know, everybody I speak to and on my block and in the neighborhood, and Howard students and alums who I talk to, who are many, have felt very confused. And also just with things like timelines, as we've seen in this meeting, a lot seems to happen very quickly sometimes, and then a lot doesn't seem to happen. So with respect to the new timeline, I understand what you're saying about your focus on the 5B02 folks, but can you just clarify, or maybe the other commissioners, because the vote ultimately is with between you all, of course, represents all of 5B. So I just want to, you know, I know that someone like me and other folks who are sending in their signatures just want to understand how will they be considered in the vote that you all take, and will that resolution, what will it cover? Will it be is it just being deferred, the same resolution that would have been tonight? Like, can you give us more clarity on that?
We'll discuss two resolutions, one that was given by Commissioner Carley and her development team for 5B, as well as the information that I received from the community. And that's what we'll be going over, and that's what we'll be voting on. And then that information will go to the full body, because in order for us to get great weight, we would need all commissioners or a majority of the commission to actually vote. Just me doing a resolution does not hold that weight. The whole body has to vote on it in order for us to gain that great weight. So that is the process. And then that information will be sent, and it can be placed into the official docket.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Any other questions? Well, all right. I really appreciate everyone's time and consideration, and thank you for hanging around so late. This meeting is now adjourned. Have a fantastic evening. God bless you all. Please stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Commissioner. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Great meeting, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Great meeting. Well organized. Take care. Have a great evening, everybody.